Why are so many dogs suffering from health issues? Actress Katherine Heigl, who's helped save over 16,000 dogs through her foundation, says she's seeing more issues with dogs' joints, odors, and health than ever before. And after doing a ton of research, she feels there's one place we can look to support any dog's health: their food. So she decided to create something she could actually feel good about feeding her dogs. It's called Superfood Complete. Superfood Complete is made with over 30 of the healthiest ingredients on the planet, including several superfoods vital to your dog's health. Badlands Ranch also sponsors the Jason Debus Heigl Foundation, which has helped rescue thousands of dogs and place them in loving homes. Dogs across America are trying this food and experiencing amazing health benefits. Go to badlandsranch.com/save50 and order right now to get up to 50% off your regular price order with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you want your dog to experience all these incredible things, go to badlandsranch.com/save50 today.
Did you know a 2018 study showed half of prenatal vitamins tested had unacceptable levels of heavy metals? I'm Kat, mother of 3 and founder of Ritual. When I was 4 months pregnant, I couldn't find a prenatal I could trust, so I created my own. Ours is made traceable, third-party tested for heavy metals, and recently earned the Purity Award from the Clean Label Project. But don't just take my word for it. Get 25% off at ritual.com/prenatal.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr, New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keepin' It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith and Karen Peterson from Post Wrestling. On today's show, we will review nights 16 through 19 of G1 Climax 34 and cover all its news. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get the network's podcast over at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style for IWGP subscribers and grade 1 subscribers this week. If you want access to the weekly live stream, ad-free audio, and bonus content, subscribe at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Karen, how you doing?
It's been a while, boys. Summertime in Florida is always a busy, sweaty, nasty affair, but I am checked out. I'm ready for vacation. But I was like I said in our chat over the weekend is like, I'm sorry, I was a deadbeat Discord daddy and I just like finally showed up after being gone for like 4 months. But
I was confused what you were talking about when you said that. I was like, your MJ does PR, and I was like, oh, wait a second. There's a running gag now.
That's the bit. As I accidentally took it away from him based on grammar. So
Karen is sort of the real Discord daddy.
Daddy's home.
Is this the first time you've done video with us before, huh?
No, I've done video with you all before.
She was on when we were testing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that wasn't real because we didn't release that.
Well, that's good because I didn't have any eyebrows at that time. So I had no makeup on. They're like, oh, we're doing video now. I'm like, what do you mean you're doing video now? Tell me now. Tell a girl next time. I have to prepare. Yeah, a lot of work goes into like looking like a normal human being for me. I'm part gremlin, so.
That is a lie. Are you by any chance, I know it's not really your bag, but are you going to the AEW pay-per-view in December?
I am not planning on it.
Gotcha. Well, I think me and Jeremy are, so maybe we should.
Is it here in Orlando or is it down in Tampa?
Orlando.
It's at I think the UCF Arena edition or whatever.
Really? Okay. Well, I mean, that's just up the street for me, so
yeah.
I guess we try to go.
Need to get some Asian food or some drinks or something.
I've got you. I've got the Rex.
Nice. All right. Well, we got G1 Climax to.
But before we jump into that, Karen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What got you into? No, I'm just playing.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah. So
no, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. My audio cut out for a second.
I was just doing a bit.
Oh, okay. I was like, I got into New Japan because of the G1 back in 2017, but I don't think we want to rehash that long conversation.
But this is the second time you're having to do audio on the G1. You guys did drop some audio this week, right?
Yeah, I covered the semifinals on Saturday with the boss man over at Post, John Pollock, and then yesterday did the finals with my buddy, my partner in crime, WH Park, over for Post Pro Res, and then my New Japan podcast coverage partner, Bruce Lord. So you guys are the only ones that get my actual unfiltered, unpaywalled version of my thoughts.
Nice. Well, yeah, let's jump into it. We got a lot to cover, got lots of questions. So we're going to be reviewing the conclusion of the tournament. So last week we left off going into the final B block night 16. So we'll kind of run through the undercard real quick and then jump into all the tournament stuff. And then when we get more to the final nights, we can highlight any story elements in the undercard. So night 16, August 14th, Hamamatsu opened up. We had Bolton Oleg and Toriano defeating Katsuya Murashima and Chomakato. We had the Mad Bastards of Gabe Kidd and Jake Lee defeating the Just Five Guys, Timo Sanada and Taka Michinoku. Then we had Umino and Honma defeating Dick Togo and Evil. United Empire team of Callum Newman, Francesco Akira, Great O-Khan defeating the LIJ team of Bushi, Shingo, and Naito. And then we got into tournament action. So in the B block, unfortunately, we had the incident with Yuya Uemura getting the injury, so he had to forfeit his match. So, that gave Bolton his 2 points, getting him up to 8 points of both guys, ending 8 points in the block play. And then the first actual tournament match of the night, we had Hanare defeating Hiroki Goto in 12 minutes and 46 seconds, ending the dream of the G and G1 standing for Goto.
I would just like to say that this was the first of 5 straight correct predictions that this show made just 1 week ago when we told you exactly how B block was going to play out. And it played out exactly the way we said it would. That rarely happens, but this time it did.
Yeah, I was pretty excited once everything was happening the way we predicted it.
Even if it was stuff we didn't want to happen, we're like, we saw it. We knew this was happening.
Take that victory lap. It's fine.
It doesn't matter that Goto's kids' dreams were dashed. We were right.
It's okay. They're all under the age of 10. They've got time. You can try again next year.
It's Goto. It's never happening.
I know.
They've been trying for 20-something years.
Don't tell the kids that.
The best they're gonna have to do is turn on 2008. Watch him beat who'd he beat? Makabe for the G1 back then, and then challenge for the All Japan Championship instead of at Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome and lose. So,
oh bless.
Karen, what were your thoughts on this match and this, Goto's campaign, the story ended here?
I don't know. For me, I have a very soft spot for Goto because he and I are the same age. So to see that he can still go at 45 and doing a lot more than I could possibly do and having a very solid G1, even as the elder statesman, I really enjoy his work. And it's one of those things where he understands the assignment. He knows he's not going to win, but he's going to act like he is going to win. He's going to try to inspire the people, and he's going to put all the young guys over. And he's going to, even with his tired knees, he's going to hang in there and put on consistently great matches. Do I ever see him winning a G1 again? No, but he's a workhorse, but he's fine with that role.
Absolutely. I mean, you never know. I think that they have kind of unearthed a little bit of a cheat code that there is something there with him. Even if it's not a world title run, I think that there's still some more juice left in that squeeze. But hopefully they take notice, and hopefully they book accordingly.
Yeah, I think, based off the crowd reactions we saw, you can kind of plug and play Goto in any spot, and we'll talk about his partner in a little bit, who's kind of elevated himself right back into a title picture without even being in a G1. I feel like you could do the same thing with Goto going forward. You can easily get him heated up, get a pin over a champion, and do a big title match with him. So, that was a good match. Bolton Oleg, I thought, looked really good throughout this whole tournament. Looked good here. Or excuse me, Hanare. Hanare looked really good this whole tournament, and good here with Goto getting the win with the Rampage. So both men here ending 4 and 5 with 8 points. Rambone says the G and G1 stands for got to put over the youngins. At least somebody will. So yeah, good stuff there from both guys. Then moving on, we had David Finlay, the global champion, defeating El Phantasmo, 12 minutes and 30 seconds. And I know this is one we talked about, from the preview show with Chris Samsa. We were all very confident that this match was leading to ELP maybe getting into the playoffs, or at least stopping David Finlay and getting a global title match, but that was not the case.
Yeah, just to be clear, that's what we thought when we were previewing the G1 overall. By the time last week came, I was still kind of on that train, but Jeremy, you pointed out to me, you're like, the math's not math, and there's no way this guy's winning this match with just all the way that things are going to play out. It became very clear, like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. Like, ELP is for sure going to lose here, and capping off one of the weirdest G1 runs of the year. So I don't know. It's definitely like Juice Robinson territory at the end of the day.
Oh, that hurts. It hurts to hear it, but I don't disagree. I'm having a very difficult time with Emo P right now. I need him to pick a personality. He needs to get over the breakup and either be a baby face, or he needs to just lean into it and go join the War Dogs. I don't want him near House of Torture. If he's going to be a shitty heel, he needs to go over to the War Dogs and do it.
Maybe he should try to get his ex back, and if that's really what he wants, he should chase after her.
X as in Bullet Club?
No, X as in get your ass to WWE and go be a part of the bloodline.
Oh, literally. Be an honorary Samoan.
Can he be the new Sami Zayn then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Except he'll never be as beloved as Sami Zayn, obviously.
They're both Canadian, so
that's true.
Yeah, and they're both great wrestlers.
Correct.
But yeah, so
Random Pig said Talatong is the one who got away.
In the year of our Lord Hiroshi Tanahashi 2024, yes, that is the one who got away.
Yeah, so Finlay getting the win here, Gato interfering, using the shillelagh, beating El Phantasmo. So ELP only ending with 6 points here. Dave Finlay going to 12. So at this point in the night, Dave Finlay was first place in the block, and going on, like you mentioned, Josh, we were talking about the math last week, and had Finlay lost, that opened the door to so many 3-way, 5-ways, 6-ways, unbreakable ties at 10 points, and I'm like, they're not going to do that. They're going to go with the simplest math. So either Finlay was going to win or Narita was going to win. So that's kind of how the math shook out. But yeah, Finlay gets the win here, gets to 12 points. Then in the semi-main event this evening, we had Konosuke Takeshita defeating Ren Narita. So Takeshita getting to 10 points, giving him a tiebreaker over Ren Narita, and tiebreaker over some other guys with 10 points, and getting him into the playoffs. Any thoughts on Takeshita and Narita and their G1s?
I personally just I'm baffled at Ren Narita's G1 run. On paper, he had a very, very respectable point total, of course, but in terms of what are they doing with this guy? And how long do we have to sit and wait for something of substance to happen with him? It's just a very frustrating. It's show 2.0 all over again.
Yes, it is.
It's very, very, when people talk about the bad tendencies of Gato's booking and the booking committee at large, we're looking at Yuka Kuchi, like this is the stuff where you're like, what are they doing? That being said, I guess he played spoiler here, kind of facilitated a bit of a Kanemaru role. And, there was the chance that maybe Takeshita would get upset, but it was pretty clear Takeshita was getting through. This match was what it was. It was fine. In fact, you know what? The A block final way outperformed the B block final. The B block final was just okay across the board. Like there was nothing that was really stand out on this night, including even the main event, which should have been really, really up there. In my opinion, it wasn't. But Takeshita gets through, rounding out what is probably the run of the tournament.
Yeah, I think Takeshita is definitely the MVP of the tournament. We're gonna say, Karen?
No, just so we're clear, Josh, we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of Sho joining House of Torture. So bare minimum, you're gonna have 2 more years of Ren Narita being squandered.
This is
unless a miracle, unless I fight Geto and release the boys, they're just gonna circle the drain for the foreseeable future.
Years to waste with these guys.
Given that there's, with the loss of Okada and the loss of Ospreay in the last year, they need to start reconsidering what they're doing with certain people. You can't have only plans for 1 or 2 people at a time at this point. You need to build up as many people as possible. And Narita is one of those guys that he came back strong and had this whole big to do about. And now we're watching him just waste his talent. The flashes of where you see him wrestle are really good, but then you have to deal with the 15 minutes of other stuff that's not so good. I don't watch AEW, as you guys are very well aware of, but I feel like AEW should be making a bigger deal about Takeshita being in the G1, especially because he is the guy who's been consistently the conversation. I'm fairly certain with your podcast and Will over his post, most of our match recommendations consistently Takeshita's almost all of his matches were on our short list of people. If you're going to watch, you have to pick and choose. His matches are the one to watch. I feel like he had a much better G1 compared to Kaito Kiyomiya last year, who only finished with 6 points. So I'm not saying that he's protected, but if he is protected, he more than deserves it because he's an outstanding wrestler and has brought something that feels very, very fresh to New Japan with this run. Would I like to see more of him in New Japan? Yes. Seeing pictures on social media of him hanging out with United Empire, that could possibly be the move, but who knows? But I've enjoyed him being in the tournament as a whole.
Trying to think of what was the last time someone just really impressed as an outsider in the G1, and I don't know, it's probably got to be that year when Marufuji and what's his name? Why do I always forget his name?
Marufuji and
what's wrong with me?
From Noah, you're talking about?
Well, the answer's not Jake Lee, that's for sure.
He's the champion in GLEAT right now. Why he was just the All Japan champion.
Nakajima Katsuya?
Yeah, Nakajima. So
if you see what Nakajima's doing right now in GLEAT, it's fine, but he also has lost the plot, I think, right now. He's on a journey of self-discovery.
No one wants to work with him, so that's the issue there.
Well, there's that too.
But I feel like the last time there was anybody that came in with buzz as an outsider that really actually made a difference was those guys, and that was 2016. So it's been almost a decade.
Yep.
Yeah, Keshta definitely got tons of buzz, and that's been one of the complaints we've had with the AEW and New Japan partnership. It seems like when AEW talent are featured in big matches, big tournaments, it's rarely highlighted on Dynamite. The Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay program, the big Wrestle Kingdom match, there was barely any mention of that. Anytime anybody goes over and does anything, Archer was in G1 last year. Any time any other guys go over for any of these tournaments, Wheeler Utah was in Best of Super Juniors. They kind of briefly mentioned it on commentary, and they're just not really highlighting a lot of that stuff on their TV. And I get it, there's only so much you can pack in 2 hours, but to do a quick 30 seconds of This is where Takeshita's been. He's in, or it'd be perfect to have Don Callis doing a backstage promo like, I sent my guy, I sent the alpha over, he's dominating. Here's the highlight reel I just made of Takeshita, and just show some quick clips of him like drilling people with the knees and the forearms, and just kind of showing quick, this is what he's doing. Here's how you can watch him. But none of that.
It goes back to my whole point when it comes to the partnership between New Japan and AEW, is that they should be driving, if they're going to send people to, especially to these big tournaments or to their bigger shows like Wrestle Kingdom, they need to be driving their audience to the New Japan programming to, get involved and, watch what's going on. Like even like Anna Jay, I'm not that familiar with her work, but I know she's been in AEW for quite some time. She's in Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix, and I can guarantee you that they're not talking about that either.
Yeah.
So it's the if it's a reciprocal agreement and one's not a feeder for the other, you need to start treating them as an equal, or you're going to start losing interest from people.
Well, one is a feeder for the other.
Well, not according to the reports from New Japan. They are not a feeder. So
President Ace is going to change that up. So
I need me and my buddy Tanahashi need to have a heart to heart about what's going on.
Well, hopefully he can help, resuscitate their economy, and then maybe that will change things.
Well, the Japanese economy as a whole is in the pit, but that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, but this match, you guys mentioned, was fine. Narita, it's very disappointing to see where he's at right now, and there's the flashes of greatness. He'll throw a T-bone every once in a while. He'll do something cool. That knee guillotine's pretty cool, and then the rest of it's kind of surrounded by House of Torture stuff, and so you had all that. They were trying to do some heat here and kind of make you think Takeshita was going to get screwed as well. But Takeshita was able to fight back, rally back, and pin Narita. I think this was the match where there was a post-match attack on his leg from the House of Torture, which would kind of hamper him going into the playoffs. Yeah. And then the main event here for the B block, we had Yota Tsuji, the Gene Blast, defeating the NJPW World TV Champ Jeff Cobb in 11 minutes and 37 seconds. So Tsuji was able to get the 10 points here. That gave him the tiebreaker over Cobb, and getting him in, had a tiebreaker over Narita as well, so that advanced him into the playoffs.
The one thing I'll say here, considering the talent of both of these guys and the chemistry they've displayed in the past, especially that semifinal match that they had during New Japan Cup this past year, and given the stage that it was set for, I would have just kind of hoped and expected for more. Granted, it was at the very, very tail end of the tournament, and who knows what kind of condition they were in at that point in time. So I can just imagine how worn down and beat up they might have been, but I still just kind of expected a little bit more, considering it was a main event. And it was fine. I mean, it wasn't a bad match, but it also wasn't anything to rewatch again or write home about. And, I don't know. B block finals is B block finals. You expect that to be like one of the best matches of the tournament, and it just kind of wasn't. It was fine. It was a competent wrestling match, but nothing more, nothing less. And I don't know. It's not anything to write home about.
Yeah, I liked it fine, and it checked off all the boxes of a normal match between the two of them. My qualm is, was the length of the match. If this is going to be the main event match, the match before it, given that it has House of Torture shenanigans, should not have been as short as it was. If anything, they could have at least tacked on another 5 minutes, even if it's just fighting around the ring or just rolling around on the floor, just doing something. But I also know that, Tsuji has the harder wall to scale for the rest of the weekend after this particular show. But it was just, I left feeling I wanted more, because I know they both can do more, but it's also, again, near the end of the tournament, so they have to kind of pace themselves for the rest of the shows that were going on that weekend.
Yeah, also, too, I think that there's a story element here. So, we're going to get into the news. Tsuji is going to be challenging Jeff Cobb for the TV title. So he beat Cobb here in under 15 minutes. So kind of a story here. So it's like, all right, they did that because they're kind of teasing, all right, this is what's next for Tsuji. But with this being the final, night before the playoffs, you would want a great, 20-minute, close to 30-minute main event where Tsuji could really show what he was made of and have a really great slobber knocker with Jeff Cobb. Looks like a young boy's getting teleported somewhere.
He's been spirited away. Like, I don't know what happened.
Guys, I saw it too. I don't know what happened. I'm working to fix it for Rambo and Slam Big out there.
He's fallen through the matrix. We lost him.
Speaking of which, Jeremy, I just want to point out, I noticed that we have gained a few more subscriptions to the Patreon. So don't think I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Don't forget my cut is what I'm saying.
I'm not hiding it. Let me know when you want something. I'll send you money.
Man's over here eating 4 pieces of cake for his birthday. I don't know. the funds might be a little thin this month, Joshua.
Well, no, what pissed me off about Jeremy this week, let me just get on that subject for a second. So Jeremy's birthday is coming up, right? This man doesn't tell anybody that we're doing anything. So I go ahead and I buy a ticket to the WWE house show in Lakeland, which, by the way, was fucking trash. Anyways, then
Lakeland, my dear.
Well, according to Kofi Kingston, it is the heart and soul of America, is what he said on that night.
That's one way to describe Lakeland.
Yeah, it was a bold assertion. But putting that aside, then Jeremy gets on the chat and he's like, "Hey guys, we're going out to Gongchu Chicken. We're gonna be doing some karaoke on Saturday night." And I'm like, "Bro, you didn't tell me. And you knew I asked if you guys wanted to go to this house show. Why didn't you say, hold up, don't buy your ticket, we're doing karaoke?" He waited until after I had already paid for my ticket to then invite me out, knowing I couldn't make it. I know it was a coordinated effort to make sure I couldn't attend his freaking birthday.
How are your karaoke skills? In all honesty,
Jeremy,
Josh is pretty good. Josh is a great singer.
Oh, then I'm staying out of it.
Well, we didn't.
We're not going to play AITA here.
Yeah, we actually didn't end up getting fried chicken. The thing is, like, my anniversary being like right before my birthday, like I spent most of my time like planning our anniversary trip. Then I was like, oh yeah, crap, my birthday is coming up. And then I saw that Gantju reopened because they actually closed down.
They had closed.
And
are they back?
Yeah, they're back. They have new. This weekend was like their kind of relaunch. They had new management, and so I saw it. I was like, maybe I'll see if anybody's free. I know it's last minute, so I just kind of threw it out there. So, Zach Porter, friend of the show, came out. James Boyd from One Nation Radio. So 3 of us, we went out there, got some chicken, talked some wrestling, had a good time, had some drinks. So,
well, it would have been great if I could have gone.
Well, who told you to go to a WWE house show in Lakeland on a Saturday? That's on you.
I wasn't going to be the one to say
it. Two things I'll say about that show real quick. Number one, there was every single match was basically a rematch from SummerSlam. They did a Gunther. I didn't even mean to do that. They did a Gunther versus Damian Priest match. I swear to God, I counted. These dudes took 4 fucking bumps collectively amongst the 2 of them. They got 2 "This is awesome" chants during the match. This crowd is so programmed. The moment they do a double down, "This is awesome." I was like, and I didn't think it was going to work. It worked. Bro, they had 4,000 people in that freaking...
what are y'all doing with your Saturday nights in Lakeland? Come on now.
So that was the one thing. The other thing too. So Cody wrestles, right? He wrestles Solo Sikoa in a Lakeland street fight, which was basically just a miniature version of the match they had. Actually, it was better than the match they had at SummerSlam because they got to the shits right away. They didn't fuck around. But I felt so bad for Cody because he comes out first, right? Biggest pop of the night, biggest reaction. Everyone's freaking out. Cody Rhodes, top guy. Soon as the match starts, there was only 3 chants that were chanted consistently the entire match. OTC, we want Roman, and not my tribal chief. That crowd, all they care about is fucking Roman Reigns. It is not about Cody Rhodes. He's a bit player in Roman's story, and Roman's he wasn't even in Lakeland. This was not on TV or anything. Like, they think Roman Reigns coming out in Lakeland, Florida, like, on a Saturday night? Like,
absolutely not. Nope.
It's the craziest shit. The only nice thing about the show, and the one thing that I will say that's positive, sometimes I forget WWE is a show for little kids, and there's a million little kids and all their parents, and they fucking loved it. And that was fun to watch them pop and go crazy. And it's like, that's the nice thing about it. For all the terrible stuff and there's a million terrible things about WWE, the good part, watching the little kids freak out with their stuff and blah blah. You know, they don't know what work rate is. It's okay. They don't know what
They're not pulling their notebooks out and giving stars.
Getting the star ratings ready.
They don't know.
I feel like Liv Morgan could have done a little more here.
I watched a god awful Chelsea Green and Naomi match. Oh my god, it was bad. So bad. But the thing, almost every match was bad. I swear to God, on these house shows, they are not trying. Like, you know, when you go, okay, Jeremy, and actually you probably know too. No, Rambo, nobody was fighting over friendship bracelets at the chicken place. No. You go to an NXT house show and they're fucking working. It might be repetitive. It might be the same matches you've seen a million times, but they're really working. These WWE house shows for the main roster, dude, they are not working at all. They're doing everything they can do to take no bumps. It is just gaga bullshit comedy, running around, playing to the crowd. I like literally was just started taking count, and it was like 2 bump match, 3 bump match, 1 bump match. They were not there's no bumping going on. These people are smart, dude.
Togi Makabe would approve.
Bro, they're better than Togi Makabe. It's insane.
All right.
Anyways, we can talk about the G1, I guess.
Yeah, enough of that. That was your weekly WWE update there. But on to night 17, August 15th, we had Just 5 Guys, Doki-san, Taichi, and Taka defeating Bishamon, Murashima, and Hanma. We had Tanahashi, Yano, Bolton defeating Sho, Kanemaru, and Yujiro. The Mad Bastards defeating Francisco Akira and Jeff Cobb. Callum Newman and Hanare defeating Bushi and Naito. Dick Togo, Evil, and Narita defeating Phantasmo, Jado, and Umino. Hartley Jackson coming in on the tour here, teaming up with Zack Sabre Jr. to defeat David Finlay and Gato. And then in the semi-main event, we had the A-Block playoff match, the Dragon, Shingo Takagi, defeating Great Okan in 20 minutes and 50 seconds. Karen, your thoughts?
Well, apparently Zelda was kind of seemingly upset that Takagi just defeated Great Okan because she just started growling when you said that. I was like, oh, calm down, miss. It's fine. He's not doing Sonata slander. It's fine. I think Okan had to fight a very much uphill battle against somebody with like arguably one of the biggest personalities in the entire company right now with Shingo, and someone who is a former world champion, someone who is very beloved and has like very much like Goto has an outstanding work rate consistently throughout tournament play. But I don't know what Okan needs to kick it into the next gear. I always feel like he has I enjoy his character work, but I feel like he also struggles to get to that next level because he's his own worst enemy. He loves to do all of the things. He is such a diverse wheelhouse of, MMA and wrestling and everything else that he has an embarrassment of riches, but those riches aren't paying dividends in his wrestling.
Yeah, I almost kind of liken that to, like, for instance, like Zack. Zack has this very distinct style of wrestling that more people are emulating now, but when he started doing it on the international stage, nobody was doing the stuff he did, and he found a way to translate that into still having compelling wrestling matches. And there's clearly a way to do a lot of the stuff that Okan wants to do. I feel like, honestly, what he needs to do is probably go study the greats, go watch what Akira Maeda did, go watch what Volkan did, go watch what those types of guys were able to do to incorporate the kinds of things he wants to do in his wrestling to not only emulate it, but also build upon it. Because right now, like, he's doing it, but he's not doing it in a way that translates to the house style of New Japan,
I also feel like he's too attached to the supernatural character. Like, I love that he has a character that's like, somewhat mystical from somewhere in the Himalayas and whatever. But I feel like he's so attached to that particular character that sometimes it eclipses the potential that he has. Like I don't know if he'd be willing to cut off the braid and shave his face and try a new look. Like it's just like he keeps trying like new looks during for his ring gear, but none of them seem to be sticking.
I liked when he was doing. I don't get me wrong. I don't hate the fight shorts, but I thought they were a one-off. I didn't realize he was going to just stick with those. I liked when he had the pants as the big match gear and then the tights as the house show gear. It was, his version of Kenny Omega's house gear, tights or like t-shirt Naito.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I mean, I feel like I feel like he was better in this tournament. And I think he's right on the cuff. He's just missing just something, like you mentioned, Karen, to get to that next level.
He's better compared to last year.
Yeah. I feel like the work was very good, especially coming in that last, closing streak where he's winning all these matches in a row, and he's building confidence, and, he's doing that new pin with the claw hold as well. And so I think there's a lot of great pieces there with Okan. I think they seem to be rearranged just a little bit to kind of get him where he needs to be. And like you mentioned, Josh, maybe that is kind of studying some other people to kind of see how he can utilize more of that MMA style, more of that shoot style. Because even here in this match, there's a lot of focus on the arm of Shingo, trying to attack the pumping bomber arm, doing a lot of arm bars, a lot of arm work, a lot of arm submissions, and kind of mixing in that martial arts background that he has. Yeah.
And, the other thing with him, too, is that he's never gone this far in the tournament. And, I guess it's a bit of a spoiler alert. We're going to talk about it, but he set himself up for a October title defense or whenever that is that's coming up. And so he's kind of firmly gotten to what I like to affectionately call like the October title challenger level. Like, he's not going to headline the Dome, but he can be breathed in the same breath as your Tama Tongas or your Tomohiro Ishii's, your guys that can convincingly be placed in a large building in October to potentially headline a show. And then maybe later in the year, he'll headline some G1s and maybe headline like a New Japan Cup or like a New Beginning show or something like that. And so that is an elevation for the guy. Whereas we were talking about him being a no-hoper going into the G1, at least on this show, we were like, yeah, if they don't do something with him now, it's donezo. Like, because we've been waiting way too long for him to pull the trigger. And like, maybe he never did become that top guy that people projected him to be, but he has carved out a new level for himself in this tournament, even if there's still work to be done.
Yeah. So towards the end of this matchup here, you can continue to work on the arm bar on Shingo. Shingo fights back here. Okan's going for the eliminator, turned into a DDT. Shingo falls up with a German pumping bomber for a near fall, and then he gets Okan up for the last of the Dragon. 1, 2, 3 gets the big win, and Shingo advances to the playoffs. We had a question here from Barry Walsh saying, would Okan be considered in the same breath as the Reiwa 4 if he was a better looking dude? Sad to say, but I think it's why he's not talked about potential-wise as the rest of them.
Okay, so, as we know, wrestling is a very visual business.
Yep.
I think it's possible, but I also think as he was the one who came back from excursion before some of them even left for excursion, the problem with Okan was that he got put in the same stable as Will Ospreay and Jeff Cobb, two of the guys that they were really high on and really wanted to push, and he kind of fell into line as like he was like not the leader of the group, because they don't have a leader technically until they strap the rocket to him and throw him to the front of the line. But they keep cutting, like very much like my stance on David Finlay. They keep cutting his legs out from underneath him and pushing people in front of him. But it's not due to a lack of talent, but unfortunately I would say looks may play into it, but especially because he's playing more of a character right now as opposed to being Tomoyuki Oka, who magically disappeared when he left for England, just never to be seen again. So it's one of those things where it is a possible player and factor in the situation, but I also feel like they could find ways to work around that and still build him into being. He could become one of the big bads, as it were. I don't ever see him being like the new ace of the company, but he could definitely slot into the big bad position, well over Evil, and make it work.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Okan looks like your classic top bad guy in New Japan history. He's much more in line with your Togi Makabe's or your, there's a whole bunch of them, your Masa Saitos, and I don't know. There's a whole laundry list of guys. He doesn't look like your tip top handsome matinee level guys like an Inoki or a Nakamura or what have you. He looks like Tenzan, secondary guy who can have a lot of success, be top guy, maybe even have the belt one day, but never going to be ace. And that's just the way that things are, especially under the Bushi Road era of New Japan, where it really became almost like a matinee idol sort of promotion.
Yeah.
Right on the nose.
Also, like what Karen was saying, I feel like Okan just kind of came back at a weird time too. He came back in that pandemic period. He came in as Osprey's heater, but then they put Jeff Cobb in. So it seemed like he came in at a weird time. That's the time too, like when Master Wato came back, and these guys are coming back, and the characters are kind of weird, and we're in the pandemic. Nobody's clapping, nobody's cheering, and so I think it was an overall just kind of a weird comeback for him, and then kind of getting integrated into New Japan, and so I think that's part of it. And then I just think, with that, you look at the generation class, like Karen mentioned too, he's a class ahead of a lot of the guys that are, in that Reiwa 4 and the guys that are getting pushed. So a lot of those guys are a little bit younger, kind of same dojo class. So I think that's another reason why he kind of gets pushed out of that talking point.
Maybe if Okan comes around in 2002 and Inoki's still running the company, who knows? Maybe he's ace.
He is only 33, so there is time for him. They just need to, like everybody else, they need to start booking him like he's important, booking him like he matters, booking him like a force to be reckoned with, because he has the skills. They just need to let him use all of them and stop protecting everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say this. This is my 2 cents on it. When he starts performing at the level of the other top guys, then we can talk, but he doesn't. I think he took a step up in this tournament and definitely put forth a new foot. He turned over a new leaf in this tournament, and that was great. But prior to that, sure, he's over with the crowd. He's got a great, gimmick, and he wrestles good matches periodically, but more often than not, I'm like, he's not on the level of even a lot of the guys that came in after him. So how are they going to push him if he's, not even the best guy in his unit,
They also need to get rid of that KOPW championship. It means nothing. And it's only a hindrance for him. As much as I love a good old, rural revitalization concept, it's that belt. I enjoyed it the most when Yano had it, because it was just stupid gimmick matches that didn't last very long. For someone like Okan, give him the TV title, give him something, give him a project where I think for him, he needs a belt where the wins and losses really matter, as opposed to here's your consolation ticket to the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah. I enjoyed KOPW the most when Shingo had it, and we were
getting his were good too.
Ultimate triad matches and stuff like that. But I think KOPW, the title just looks very cheap, looks like a toy, and the matches aren't great. So they definitely need to get him out of that if they do want to continue to push him and elevate him up the card. So let's go on to the main event of this evening, the other playoff match from the B block side of things. We had Yota Tsuji defeating Konosuke Takeshita in 21 minutes and 30 seconds. What y'all think?
I liked this match. I thought it started a bit slow and then really picked up down the stretch. I originally thought this was kind of a hot take, but I'm looking at the cage match ratings, and I guess I'm not alone here. A lot of people told me they liked the second match better than the opening night match, but I personally didn't. I liked the opening night match better, but it turns out on cage match, the opening night match has the higher score and higher rating. I don't know if that just is because it has the luxury of having a longer period of time for people to review it and rate it, but I was glad for Tsuji to be able to overcome Takeshita. I think that was sort of what I envisioned for him. The one part about it I don't like that Takeshita took so many losses in the tournament in the lead up to Tsuji beating him, because it was so much less of an accomplishment once he'd already lost 3 times in the tournament. So he's like the 4th guy to beat him. I mean, it certainly does mean something, but it didn't mean as much as if he'd been like the guy that buzzed through the tournament with 1 or 2 losses and then lost to Tsuji, and Tsuji got that big return win. But either way, Tsuji gets the win. I thought he looked very competent. The crowd was rallying behind him. They wanted to see him get the win here. So, kudos to him. I thought they had a fantastic closing stretch, but for whatever reason, I liked that first match better.
Yeah, I think I ended up giving both of them the same rating. But thought they were both great. Yeah, this match definitely started out slower than the first one. Really ramped up. And I think too, another thing that might have hurt this match is people who might not be the biggest fan of body parts and selling. Takeshita was selling the leg from the injury from the previous match with Fred Narita, so it was a little bit. Another reason why it was kind of slow because he was selling leg, Tsuji working the leg a little bit, and he wasn't really fully doing maybe all the Takeshita stuff that he can do. But yeah, I thought this was a great match. It was great crowd reactions and really cool stuff here. And Tsuji hitting that Gene Blast towards the end to get the big win and go on to the finals to meet Zack Sabre Jr. Karen, what are your thoughts?
I'm in the same boat with Josh about their first match being a little bit better than this one, but I also think it's because they were fresh out of the gate on the first night, and now it's 3 weeks later, and they're all tired.
And they were in Corkin.
That would also do it.
Yeah.
So the venue does in fact play a part. As much as I love the Makuhari Messe, it's not Korakuen Hall. So, but yeah, I think they both had a great tournament. I think I would love to see them have a third match, kind of like, to break the 1-1 that's going on with them right now. But I don't want to see it right now. I want to see it like in a New Japan Cup. I want to see it like after February. Like I want them to be kept apart, and I want to see how much Tsuji can grow between now and then.
It's gonna fucking happen at Forbidden Door, and he's gonna lose.
Why must you hurt me like this, Josh?
Let's do it. Let's do it neutral ground. Let's do it in Mexico.
They're already in Mexico. But yeah, the closing stretch of this match was pretty good. Takeshita hitting that Blue Thunder bomb for a great near fall towards the end. Tsuji coming back with a Stun Dog Millionaire. He hits a Gene Blaster, but Takeshita was able to get his foot on the ropes. Takeshita avoids another Gene Blaster, hit a big German suplex, dropped Tsuji right on his head. That was pretty gnarly. But Tsuji popped up, hit the Gene Blaster, 1, 2, 30, gets the big win. So we're starting to see Tsuji really kind of have a little bit different versions of the Gene Blaster. So he kind of has the 3-point stance in the corner, seems to be like the main big Gene Blaster finisher. Then there's also kind of like the mini Gene Blaster where he just he gets enough distance to hit it, but not full power. And then there's like the rebound version where he like bounces off the ropes, almost like the Roman Reigns kind of thing where he bounces off the ropes, bounces back, and hits the Gene Blast. So saw all those kind of different variations coming into the playoffs. And so, yeah, he bounced off that German suplex, able to hit that Gene Blaster. Good stuff here from Tsuji.
Let me ask you guys your opinion on this finisher theory when it comes to Takeshita and that move, right? Is it better that he do the Naito psychology where it's like he has a variety of versions of the Gene Blast finish, but none of them are the finisher? The only one that's the real finisher is where he sets it up in the corner and then blasts him. Or is it better to have the DDP Randy Orton? I can catch you from anywhere with my move. And when I
can catch you anywhere with my move.
And it's the finish no matter where it is. Is that the better version, or is it better for the variety versions to be kick out worthy and only the real one's the real one?
I'm agree with Karen. I prefer it out of nowhere, anytime, anywhere I can get you, especially with a move like the spear. I get with like Destino, it's a little bit harder to set up and hit it out of nowhere.
Destino on there.
I guess it's sort of like Shawn Michaels when he hit the Sweet Chin Music. Didn't matter how he hit it, as long as he hit it and he pinned you, you were done.
Right.
For me, I'm a big fan of a flash pin. So I as much as I love a good build up and kick outs, sometimes I just want to be surprised. So if it's if we're getting a God, this sounds awful. A gene blast out of nowhere.
Oh man!
Oh God, that's awful.
Nobody likes to get a gene blast out of nowhere. You want to know about it beforehand, you know.
That sounded awful. But like, I feel they really need to change the name of that.
What the fuck is that name?
I don't know.
Oh man!
Dear listeners, kindly do not clip that out of context. Do not post it on the internet.
We get aggravated sometimes. You never know.
Post wrestling's Karen Peterson.
Sometimes you need a gene blast. I don't know. Absolutely not. But it's the.
I'm crying.
I feel like it would make him stand apart from everyone who always insists on having like the one true rainmaker, the one true high fly float. Like I don't need a one true something or other. Make me keep me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I think especially the Gene Blaster, that spare, it should be just kind of boom. People should be doing like springboards, and he catches them midair, jumping off the top rope. He does like the ducks a clothesline, hits the ropes, hits it. Like once he does it, I think that would get the move over more, get him over more. It's like, oh, you never know when Tsuji's gonna hit the Gene Blast. It doesn't have to be the 3-point stains. Like he can hit it from anywhere, and when he does it, it's over. So yeah. Good question there. Yeah, I would prefer it that way. And then also too,
I only ask good questions.
And also too, they're also establishing like the Marlowe crash as a secondary move too. So I don't think you need like 4 different versions of the Gene Blast plus the Marlowe crash. I think he just needs one Gene Blast plus a Marlowe.
Speaking of Marlowe, he has that new shirt. Rainbow and Slam Pig says, very discourteous to Gene Blast without a warning.
Sometimes it can't be helped. Let's be honest.
Oh, hey.
Whoa. Anyways. Yeah, he comes out with that new shirt, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was like the Marlowe pudding guy. I was like, what? I was in a chat and I was like, why the fuck has he got Dick Tracy on his shirt? Like, what's going on there?
Apparently Marlowe pudding is like S tier pudding in Japan. So
I don't even know what Marlowe pudding is.
I don't know either, but now I'm just like, if it's sold in a department store, because like in Japan, like the department stores have like the bougie food section. So if it's sold in a department store, or you can ship it via post to someone, it's probably good pudding. So
all right, well, I'm getting Marlowe pudding and Zima when I go to Japan.
I don't make it anymore there either.
Ah, shit. All right. It
I
pisses
managed
me
to
off.
get one of those Tanahashi ones from a friend of mine, but it was like right before they discontinued them altogether.
I've never had it in my life, dude. They had Zima at the liquor store a few years back when I was living with Jeremy, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, that's fucking weird." And I was like, "Oh, I'll just get that next time." Never came back.
YOLO, man.
Missed opportunity.
Live in the now.
We had a question here from Barry Wall. Says, is Takeshita the new Ibushi with better striking? I hope he stays around.
Oh, I'll be honest with you. He does not have better striking than Ibushi. There are so many things that Takeshita does that I think Takeshita's on the level, in the same breath as all those other great DDT guys as Omega and Ibushi. So I'd take nothing away from him. Better striker than Ibushi? A K2 level striker? One of the best strikers in the history of the sport? No, he's not a better striker than Ibushi, period. Sorry, not happening. Like, I think Ibushi's maybe the best striker that New Japan's had in like the last 20 years.
Yeah, Ibushi was incredible.
I would agree. I think I hope he stays around, but I don't compare him to Ibushi. I feel like Takeshita is his own person as well.
Mm.
He has his own style, and it's not solely harping upon striking.
Kind of reminds me of like if Kenny Omega and Okada had love child, honestly.
That I would co-sign. I think Okada's wife might be a little upset about that, but I think she'll be fine.
Yeah, something in that DET water. So Tsuji advanced to the playoff or to the semifinals. So that takes us to the August 17th show from first show from Sumo Hall.
And Jeremy, you know I paid super close attention and watched all of these undercard matches, but I'll just let you kind of give us the rundown on that stuff.
Yeah, so on this show especially, we really started seeing some story elements play out for what's coming up. So opened up, we had TMDK, Mikey Nichols, and our good friend Robbie Eagles coming in on the tour here. Robbie's been in the U.S., so made a quick jump over here to Japan. So teamed up here with.
Also, Robbie, if you're listening, let me know if you're coming to Florida because I need to know if we need to train together.
Might need to get him in CCW.
Yeah, well, I made mention of that. There's a few places that we could probably hook him up with, but I want him to come to the dojo and watch me suck at wrestling. Maybe teach me things too. So that's what I would like to have happen.
Well, poor Robbie went through 2.5 hours at U.S. Customs today when he flew back from Japan. So if someone from Florida, Central Florida specifically, if someone could book Robbie Eagles, please do, because I want to see the boy wrestle. I haven't seen him wrestle in a very long time.
I also know that Tony Donati wants to wrestle him. So
let's go. So Eagles coming in, teaming up with Mikey Nichols for the first time, and they defeated Shomakato and Yoshihashi. So it's a quick opening matchup there. Then we had the Mad Bastard team from the Bullet Club War Dogs, Gabe Kidd and Jake Lee, defeating Hiroki Goto and Tomioka Hanma. So pretty much just continuing to establish the Mad Bastard tag team, and it seems like they are pushing them for a IWGP tag team title match. Gate Kid's trying his best to make Jake Lee interesting. Then we go on. We had the UA team of Callum Newman and Jeff Cobb teaming up with Takeshita to defeat Phantasmo, Jado, and Umino. So we're starting to see the friendship between ELP and Umino kind of blossom here. And Umino is trying to convince him, you don't need to worry about your old friends. Move forward, be the light that you are. Don't go to the darkness, kind of thing. So that's starting to play out there. And then we had House of Torture, Evil, Narita, Sho, Kanemaru, and Yujiro. They defeated Tanahashi, Yano, Oleg, Taguchi, and Tiger Mask. So kind of the continued war between the President and House of Torture. Then we had the Bull Club team of Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney, and Taiji Ishimori. So Connors and Drilla coming back on the tour here. And they defeated Doki, Taichi, and Taka from Just Five Guys. So setting up a IWGP Junior title challenge here for Ishimori. He was the one that got the bone lock on Taka, getting the win there. So they're pushing that Ishimori-Doki match, and they kind of made a big point on commentary of Doki beating the big three, and Ishimori's the last one of the big three to get to.
Let me ask you guys something. Do your guys' dogs know when it's time to eat?
Yes.
How the fuck does this dog know that it's time? Look at him. Look how attentive he is. It's because he knows specifically that it is the time. Like, how the fuck can they tell time? It's fucking, look at him. You know, he's freaking out.
He's like, Pop, I'm skinny. Feed me. This is why I feed Zelda at like 5:30 in the afternoon so I can leave her alone. But now she's just like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm like, no, you don't. You're fine. You don't need to go to the bathroom. You're gonna wait until 9 o'clock so I can sleep through the night.
I just don't know how he is like on the clock, knows exactly when it is time.
Dogs are smart, man.
They're so smart. Anyways, I gotta go feed them, so I'll see you guys in a second.
Okay. Bye forever.
So after that, we had the UE team of Francesco Akira, Great Okan, and Hanare defeating Bushi, Hiromu, and Tetsuya Naito. So here we saw Hiromu continued his quest to want to challenge Hanare for the Never title. So a lot of interactions there with Hanare and trying to prove that he can hang in there with a big bruiser heavyweight like Hanare. And then we also had Great Okan mixing it up a lot with Naito, and at the end of the match, Great Okan grabbing the World Heavyweight title and really kind of stamping his claim to be the first challenger post G1. And then that takes us into the final matches here in the semifinals from the B block and A block. So in the semi-main event from the B block, we had Yota Tsuji defeating David Finlay in 28 minutes and 5 seconds. What do you think, Karen?
Seeing as Finlay still has the Global Heavyweight Championship, I didn't see him being someone who would win the G1. I feel like it for me personally, and this is probably a hot take, is that I don't like it when champions get way too, I mean, they can get pretty far in a G1 or a tournament, but I don't want them winning it, because then what, like, it kind of limits options for other people. So like once we talk about what happens after, the next show, this gives an opportunity for Finlay to have a very credible defense where he could potentially get that win back and keep going without derailing the momentum of the people he's wrestling. Because that's been one of my biggest takes with Finlay and this belt, is that his with the whole Nick Nemeth arc coming in just derailed any sense of stability to his reign as champion. Like he shouldn't be on his second reign within the same year. So, but I really enjoyed the match. Again, very much like my stance with Ren Narita and even everyone else. When David Finlay can wrestle without ghetto screaming or getting involved, I love seeing a heel do a great job and really rub it in. The table spot in this match made me so angry.
Why?
Well, for people, for their eternal rivals, mine are the tables in Japan, because I used to have to set those up when I worked in the public school system, and they're at the perfect height where they hit you right in the thigh. And because you have the steel, the metal frame, plus the thickness of the tabletop itself is probably about an inch. So you look like you were in a bar fight just by bumping into a table, like catching your hip on a table. So they have very minimal give. So when I saw Tsuji's head snap back off the second table, and they're like, oh yeah, the frame bent. And I'm like, that's not good. It didn't break away. So that's why I love like flimsy North American tables compared to Japanese tables, because at least I know those tables are going to break.
No, my favorite story is when Kenny Omega talked about asking Gato to change the tables out for their health. He's like, strong style tables.
Yeah.
No, that's
Japanese.
that's
Japanese.
That's called traction table.
It's like, well, it'd be better for our lives, And he's like, no, strong style.
Do you want your guys to walk into their 40s and 50s? No? Got it.
Yeah, that was a gnarly tail spot. Yeah, they had the double tables there, and yeah, Tsuji not only going through the one of them, his head cracking the other one. And yeah, they did mention on commentary like, he might have a concussion.
Yeah, might.
Yeah,
fairly possible.
Young boy, your thoughts on Finlay Tsuji?
Very good match. I think ultimately, had Finlay gone through, then there was absolutely no possible way Zack Sabre Jr. was going to win, because they're never going to do two white dudes in the final of G1 Climax. Unless, who knows? Maybe one day we'll get to a place where that could potentially happen, but they're not doing two foreigners in the final of the G1. It's never been done before. It would take something monumental. It would take like a Hulk Hogan versus The Rock level style match for that to ever happen. It'd have to be like the biggest stars ever.
Or Omega Ospreay.
Yeah, and I don't even think that's even on the level. Like, we're talking like it's got to be like Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hulk Hogan level type guys in the finals of the G1. Like Bob Sapp versus Goldberg or Brock Lesnar. Like, it's not happening. So once you knew that, like, if David Finlay was going to win, then you knew Shingo was going to be the one. And if that had happened, then Chris Samsa's theory of Shingo being the guy that was going to go through would have come to fruition, because there's no way they were going to do David Finlay challenging for the title at any of these shows in the latter third quarter or fourth quarter of the year. It's just not happening. It's not in the book. So once it was Tsuji, that opened up a world of potential and possibilities, because at that point it could have been either Zach or Shingo, and there was appropriate stories one way or the other. Yeah. The match was very good. I thought this is one of the better performances of David Finlay, who did have an admittedly strong tournament, but I felt like this was probably his best match of the tournament. And I don't want to take credit away from whoever it was, but I saw someone post on Twitter, and they said, a guy whose character reeks of selfishness, but is nothing but selfless in the actual ring. That's kind of David Finlay, and his entire character is established to get other people over. And that's what he was doing here, to the best of his ability.
Yeah, I thought the match was pretty good. Started off a little bit slow towards the beginning. Then Tsuji really having to sell here. Kind of wanted the fans to really get behind him and kind of make a big comeback. So yeah, kind of slow in the middle, but picked up. talk about the table spot here, and then they're just doing a lot of cool like power move stuff. Finley has really kind of showed off the power game with this new turn here, and doing all the powerbomb stuff. And so we saw him powerbomb Cobb, or earlier on, and we talked about how cool that was, the jackknife. And so was throwing Tsuji around here as well. But yeah, Tsuji was able to survive the table spot. He has survived the into oblivion neck breaker. Kind of ate a lot of Finley's big bombs until he was finally able to block the cross strike knee, and he hit the deadbolt suplex, which is the finisher of his rival Yuya Uemura, who's out with injury, and then he followed up with the Gene Blaster 1, 2, 3.
I actually, it was funny. I trained with somebody who does a version of the what is Finley's finish?
Finley's
called the cross, whatever.
The cross strike.
Yeah, the cross strike. And I was training with this guy for the first time on Tuesday, and he's like, "Yeah, this is my finish." And I was like, "Oh, so you just do like David Finley's finish?" And he's like, "What does he do?" And I was like, "He does the same thing as you, but the people bump better off of it." He's like, "Show it to me." And so I show him. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know anyone else did this. That is better."
Oh, buddy.
Oh, man. So yeah, any other thoughts on Tsuji Finley here?
I was so glad Finley lost. Again, take nothing away from Finley. Finley had a very strong tournament, and I don't know if he'll ever be the Bullet Club leader I wish that we could have necessarily, but Zach says, "Damn, young boy." But you can't take anything away from his tournament. His tournament was great. This is the best he's ever done in the tournament. I mean, for a white belt champion, this is about where you'd want them to be slotted. So very strong booking, and it'll be interesting to see where we go next with the guy.
Yeah. So, that'll take us to the A block final match. We had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Shingo Takagi in 27 minutes and 38 seconds.
Yeah, so this was phenomenal. And for two guys that have had nothing but phenomenal matches in their entire history of run of matches in New Japan, for them to have done it twice in the same tournament, not even that far apart from one another, and for the second one to be just that much better in Ryogoku, like phenomenal stuff. I loved this match. I love the story it told. I think that I think Zack and Shingo, I can't say that Shingo is Zack's very, very best opponent, but he's got to be up there. He's like a top 3, top 4 guy that each of them have faced within New Japan.
Yeah.
When it comes to Zack, in this match particular, I really liked it. I really liked it a whole lot. Like, this would be one of the matches I would recommend overall throughout the entire tournament to people. Like, you need to watch this match and watch why these are two of the best wrestlers in the world. But also, there is the edge where Shingo's a previous world champion. He's held that belt, and that's one of the things that Zack hasn't been able to do. He can get the win when it matters, but when he gets the title opportunity, that's when he can't do it. So for this match, to go for almost 30 minutes at the speed and the strength that they went at, my breath was taken away the entire time. They've become two of my absolute favorite wrestlers in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
They also both were so plausible as being the winner, given the fact that Tsuji was the guy that was counter them. Both I honestly sort of started feeling more like Shingo was going to go through. Witt's Collection, who, by the way, shout out to Witz. I think you ended like 9th or 8th in the overall, prediction contest. So congrats, bro. I think that I started to feel like Shingo was going to go through versus Tsuji, even since the start of the tournament, my prediction always was Zack versus Tsuji. I just started to get the feeling like, man, they might really just do Shingo versus Tsuji. Like, that's a fantastic final. And then for Zack to gut it out and win, and for him to get the crowd behind him as the winner was crazy. It was awesome.
Yeah, I felt like the whole atmosphere on this night was just awesome, and the crowd was just super into everything. And yeah, this is the way that they're getting into this match and really rallying behind Zack Sabre Jr. And again, a great story, and Zack working over the legs of Shingo, trying to slow down Shingo on the power moves, and both of them are just hitting all their big moves at a fast pace. And yeah, this was a really great match. I enjoyed this match better than their first match in the block action, and yeah, this was just absolutely great stuff here. And coming out to the end where Zack gets Shingo in that kind of calf slicer submission, and Shingo is just he's trying so hard, he's holding on to Red Shoe's leg, and he's just like, I don't want to tap, I don't want to give up, and then finally he has no choice, he has to tap out, and Zack Sabre Jr. gets to win. But yeah, he tried so hard. He's holding on.
Well, and then it gets to the point where, we always talk about Tanahashi's knees and Naito's knees, and with Zack insisting on using submission finishers throughout the tournament as much as he can, it's Shingo has to make the call. Do I get this win and go to the finals, or do I potentially ruin my career and my ability to walk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah.
I do want to say one quick thing. I know that this isn't necessarily 100% a fact, but when the match started, I think it detected a little bit of a boo-boo face on Shingo.
You did?
Ooh.
I think just a little bit, because when the match started, I was like, here's what happened. I woke up late and missed the Finlay versus Tsuji match, and I was in a group thread, and I thought that they had said that Finlay won, but I saw the boo-boo face on Shingo, and I was like, that's weird, because if Finlay won, then Shingo's certainly winning.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second, did Tsuji lose? And then people were like, no, Tsuji won, and I was like, oh, he's losing here. And then I was like, Zack just came out looking like the kind of guy that, like, he came out looking like $1 million. Now the match itself, they're both professionals. I mean, they wrestled it to the top degree, but I did think I detected a little bit of
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. But yeah, it's one of those things where, I was surprised that Okan pushed himself to the front of the line, because Shingo did beat Naito on opening night.
Night one.
And so it's one of those things where, like, his window of opportunity might get slammed firmly shut.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see the potential for a boo-boo face. But at 41 years old, that's not cute. Don't do that. No boo-boo face in your 40s.
And we weren't totally sure what the outcome of all this was going to be. Another spoiler alert, like Zack wins and he's challenging early, which means that we're not getting the whole, all these months before the Tokyo Dome. And there had been speculations from people there, like, what if Naito has to defend against all these guys before the Dome?
Well, that's usually what the pattern is. But I think
it's not happening now.
I'll save those thoughts for when we get to the end of this, because I've got thoughts on that as well, why they're choosing to take that route instead, and not just because of the announcement, not just because of the announcement of Royal Quest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but yeah, great matchup here. Yeah, the Zack driver leading into the calf slicer kind of thing. Great finish. Zack gets the win. Then Tsuji comes out post match and it's the Marlowe Pudding LIJ shirt. Gets
the Dick Tracy shirt, yellow and black.
So they shake hands and you get the big stare down leading into the final night. So that will take us to the final night, August 18th from Ryogoku. Showing up, we had Tengoji coming in, teaming up with Ryusuke Taguchi. They defeated.
Who they ever beat?
They beat Shomakato, Tiger Mask, and Yuji Nagata on this night. So this little Young Lion opener there, New Japan Dads. Then we had Taichi defeating Katsuya Murashima in 7 minutes and 21 seconds. So seems like they're just kind of heating Taichi up for something. Not sure what.
That might seem inconsequential, but on the G1 final night, to have a dude who wasn't in the tournament pick up a little singles win over a Young Lion might be a little bit more consequential than we are thinking it might be,
Yeah.
If I had a guess, I just think it's strange that his tag team partner is challenging for the title very, very soon,
Mm-hmm.
Out there.
And Last Commission 7252 asks, should Taichi equip the dangerous backdrop as his finishing move instead of his signature?
I think he can beat his opponents with either of his several finishing moves. I've seen him beat people with the clothesline, with the super kick. I've seen him beat him with the dangerous backdrop as well as the air raid crash.
Yeah, I think obviously the air raid, the Black Mephisto, the air raid crash, it's like the number one finisher for him. And then the dangerous backdrop, when he adds like the Nagata style bridge to it, he's beating people with that.
He beats people with the Gato clutch.
Yeah,
he's got like 5 finishes.
Yeah, but yeah, so
he's a video game wrestler.
Yeah, looked great here. Ends up getting the win over Murashima. Then we get TMDK, Nichols, and Eagles defeating Francesco Akira and Konosuke Takeshita. Then we had Clark Connors, Drilla, and Taiji defeating Doki, Sanada, and Taka. So again, continuing to push Taiji Ishimori as the next challenger for Doki. Then we had Bishamon teaming up with Hanma to defeat the Bullet Club War Dogs of Finley, Gabe Kidd, and Jake Lee. And we got the big upset here, Yoshihashi getting a crucifix bomb on the global champion, David Finley, to get himself in contention.
I don't think he's going to be David Finley, but like how much would you freak out if Yoshihashi was the next white belt champion?
It's coming home, guys.
Yeah, this man Yoshihashi, you saw he had a fresh dye job. That blonde was fresh, cut hair.
Everybody wants a summer bleach blonde.
I definitely saw that. I watched this match.
So Yoshihashi getting the upset there, setting him in shot for the tag title, and then also still kind of teasing Gabe Kidd and Jake Lee's tag team. Of course, they're mixing it up with Bishamon there as well.
They have a name and everything.
Yeah, Mad Bastards. I've been referring to them to that.
Yeah, but like I thought that was just a colloquial name that like fans had given them, but that's like their official name now.
Yeah, Mad Bastards. Yeah.
Which leads me to think that like maybe the thing with Jake Lee going to Noah is not actually happening. Otherwise, why give them a tag team name? Unfortunately.
I think he's here to stay.
I mean, he really doesn't have much else to do in Noah, because when he got there from All Japan and like within a month had the championship and then had a long run with it. So I don't think he's going to go back to tag team wrestling in Noah. After being in a G1, I don't know.
He could be there and not here. There's a lot to do. Be there. Go away.
Zach says he's your
problem now.
Zach, big Noah fan. So he's happy to get rid of Jake Lee and dump him onto us. We had a question here from us commission. It says, did Gabe Kidd create a miracle by making Jake Lee washable since they are a tag team? I don't care much for the guy. Yes, it was a G1 spot wasted, but after his match with Gabe Kidd, I seem to like him more. He just needs to work and change on his character.
I feel like they brought Jake Lee in to kind of replace the void or fill the void that was left by Alex Coughlin, like unfortunate departure and retirement. Personally, I like babyface Jake Lee much better than heel Jake Lee, but I do feel like the two of them have, in a very short time, have found a good dynamic with each other where they temper one another. Gabe kind of gives Jake Lee a personality and Lee kind of focuses Kidd's ADD, gets him like into the, like it kind of directs all of his energy back onto the task at hand. So I think they may have found like a happy surprise, as it were. Would I have put Jake Lee in the War Dogs? No. But I don't need House of Torture doesn't need more people at this point, and I still don't know what's happening with like the original Bullet Club guys, like like Kenta and Gabe is Jack. You leave Jack Morris out of this, sir. You leave the good-looking guys' memories alone.
I was definitely admonished this past week. By the way, if you guys are listening, I was on the Wrestling with Art podcast with Chris Things here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network this past week. We talked G1. We also talked he did an awesome drawing of the Zack Sabre versus Kid match, by the way, and we discussed that. Yeah, but I threw some shade at freaking Who are we talking about?
Jake Lee.
Yeah,
Gabe
my bad.
Kid.
No, I just forgot his name. I don't know. It's been a long day. But yeah, I threw some shade at Jake Lee, and like Chris Thing's a huge Noah fan, and he was like, "Oh, he had a great run. He did this title run, the Kano match, blah blah."
He did have a great run in Noah. It just happened very quickly.
I just don't want to see him ever again. The only match I liked this entire run was the kid match, and it was because it was a plunder match that was awesome, and it was like sub 6 minutes, so it ruled. But who knows? Maybe we've seen guys that I didn't like get turned around by teaming with the right guy, and maybe this can be a beneficial partnership between the two of them. All these fans are calling for Gabe Kidd to take over the War Dogs and the Bullet Club, and that's clearly not happening anytime in the immediate future.
No.
So maybe this is a good little, side quest for all these guys while they figure it out. Zach said he was fine.
I mean, I'll take Jake Lee in a tag team and a potential tag team run with Gabe Kidd as opposed to him with a singles run with a up top tier title.
There's only one Jake Lee I like, and that's when he's wrestling Kento Miyahara and he's getting carried to 4-star matches. And without Kento Miyahara, there's really no point watching Jake Lee.
Do you think there's someone comparable in New Japan to a Miyahara that could do that for him though?
No,
bro. He wrestled Shingo.
Not right now or not ever.
He wrestled Shingo. He wrestled Zack. I'm like, if those two guys can't get 4 out of you.
People will be mad at me, but I don't think there's anybody in New Japan that's as good as Kento Miyahara.
Ooh.
Like the only person that was in New Japan, the only 2 people I saw in New Japan at a certain, like within the last couple of years that were like at the level of like Kento Miyahara were like Ospreay and Okada, and they're gone.
Yeah.
Like,
that's fair.
People sleep on. I know that like diehard Puro fans know about Kento Miyahara, but like the greater world doesn't realize that he's on the level of the top 5 wrestlers at any given point in time in the world. Like that's how good Kento Miyahara is. It's fucking insane.
I think the other difficult thing is that whenever like the Western fandom as a whole get to see him featured on either a New Japan card or like one of the Super Show cards, he's always in like an 8-person or 6-person tag match where you don't really get to see the entire scope of what he is capable of.
It's true, but he always shines better than almost everybody else in the match.
That is also true.
Yeah.
Why are so many dogs suffering from health issues? Actress Katherine Heigl, who's helped save over 16,000 dogs through her foundation, says she's seeing more issues with dogs' joints, odors, and health than ever before. And after doing a ton of research, she feels there's one place we can look to support any dog's health: their food. So she decided to create something she could actually feel good about feeding her dogs. It's called Superfood Complete. Superfood Complete is made with over 30 of the healthiest ingredients on the planet, including several superfoods vital to your dog's health. Badlands Ranch also sponsors the Jason Debus Heigl Foundation, which has helped rescue thousands of dogs and place them in loving homes. Dogs across America are trying this food and experiencing amazing health benefits. Go to badlandsranch.com/save50 and order right now to get up to 50% off your regular price order with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you want your dog to experience all these incredible things, go to badlandsranch.com/save50 today.
Have you seen Chuck Norris lately? He's still kicking butt and staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he looks more jacked than ever and seems to have more energy than guys half his age. And it's all thanks to Morning Kick, a revolutionary new daily drink from Roundhouse Provisions that combines ultra-potent greens like spirulina and kale with probiotics, prebiotics, collagen, and even ashwagandha. Just mix with water, stir, and enjoy. Unlike other green drinks out there, this one tastes exactly like strawberry lemonade and has hundreds of 5-star reviews. Go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 for up to 44% off your regular priced order. Plus, every purchase is backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to experience smoother digestion, a boost of energy, and just an overall healthier body, Then go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 today. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Results can vary.
Despite the unshakable Iowa Corn-Cyhawk rivalry, there is one thing Iowa State and University of Iowa fans can both agree on: getting hyped for Unleaded 88. It's cleaner burning and better for your engine, and it's cheaper than other fuel options, making Unleaded 88 the clear fuel choice. If Iowa Corn-Cyhawk rivals can agree on it, you know it's worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88, grown by Iowa corn farmers.
So moving on to the next match, we had House of Torture, Evil, Red Narita, Sho, Kanemaru, and Yujiro defeating Tanahashi, Yano, ELP, Bolton Oleg, and Shota Umino in 8 minutes and 43 seconds. And so here we kind of got the culmination of will ELP join House of Torture storyline that started on the last few nights where Evil...
This was the when Harry met Sally match. Will they, won't they?
Yeah, ELP gave Evil gave ELP a shirt earlier on, and he's like, do you trust them? Can you trust them? Can you trust Tanahashi? Can you trust Umino? And so he gave him the shirt again in this match, and so most of the match, ELP standing out in the crowd. He's like, should I put it on? The crowd's like, no. The crowd's like, telling him not to put a shirt on, and meanwhile, his team's getting beat down while he's trying to finally make a decision on what's going to happen. And then the big spot comes in where, the ref's down. They're going to hit Tanahashi with a chair. And he runs in. They want him to hit Tanahashi with the chair. And he's like, no. And he throws it down. And he stands for them. And he's fighting against House of Torture. But then they still get the advantage. They still get the win. And so, yeah, he had the opportunity to join. And then they beat him down. And Evil is like, I never wanted you anyway. Like,
boo-hoo, poor Evil.
That's like when a guy gets turned down and then they're like, she was crazy.
I liked your friend was hotter. Man.
I never liked you. You're ugly anyways. But really, like, they're just butthurt because they got turned down. They can't handle the rejection. That's evil.
This match and the post match had no right being as long as it was.
This whole
hated
story sucked.
It's the and Shota Umino is now embracing my toxic trait, thinking that he can fix somebody, and he's like, no, come back to the light. It'll be fine. We'll work together. Like, and it's just like, no, don't be the rebound guy. Don't. He's dealing with the one that got away right now. Stop it. You're not helping anyone. I did like that. I would have, for the part where he got hit with the belt and Narita threw it to Tanahashi. Had it been Yano, I feel like it would have been a more believable spot. But Tanahashi, if there are very few people that would do that spot to begin with. Tanahashi is certainly one of them. So it was like, I thought it was, I had that moment of, no, not like this, anything but this. But I think that one moment in the entire 10 to 15 minutes that this thing took place was the only like one good moment of it. And I'm sorry, Shota took way too long to come to ELP's rescue.
Yeah, towards the end.
You're not selling me on the you're going to help me, you're going to fix me, you're going to save me by traipsing very slowly back into the ring after you've already been beat up. You're supposed to be like in there cleaning house and coming to the rescue. It's like worst hero move ever.
Anytime I hear someone say, not like this, it reminds me of the Matrix.
It's very much like the monkey paw just curls one more finger.
The whole thing with ELP is like, and I don't want to relitigate his entire run, but the entire time they were doing this whole story, he lost his smile, blah, blah, blah. And you think it's leading somewhere, but then it never leads anywhere. So then it's just like when and I've said this on the show before, but it's like when your little brother wants to play video games with you, but you don't want him to play with you. So you hand him a controller, you don't plug it in, and he thinks he's playing. You're just kind of pacifying him. That's what they're doing. Like, there's no story. There's no built-in progression. There's nothing going on. He's just out there performing. We're just all watching it. And you know what? It makes Keeping It Strong Style look like fools because we're sitting here thinking like, they're not just going to string us along and not have it and pretend to have a story, but not have a story. It's like that time when Michael Scott said he had a giant surprise for everybody in the office, but he had no surprise. At the end of the day, everyone just went home. That's what this is. Like, there's no payoff to any of it.
Oh, well,
what's the payoff?
There's a story, all right. The story is, will he join House of Torture? Can he trust Jado? Can he trust Tanahashi after one miscommunication between both of them?
That's nothing. This is terrible. I know that people like, dig into like Tony Khan when he has bad booking and stuff, but like we got to keep it a buck and like also hold Gedo accountable. There's no story here. This is just a guy, and I don't know if this is just letting them like let ELP like have a story so he feels important while they're also burying him and not giving him any points, or who knows? I don't know if he's leaving or what the case is, but like at the end of the day, it's like they were gonna give him a shirt, but he might as well just join House of Torture at this rate. At least that would have been some progression to something, a new phase of his career. Instead, he's just back where he was. I mean, this wasn't exactly like Tama Tonga putting on the lion mark and being embraced by the crowd and turning over a new leaf. It was just, all right, ELP's just not part of House of Torture, but he's also doesn't trust Tanahashi. So he's just where he was, just at a standstill. What are we fucking doing here?
I feel like he's just treading water because they don't have a plan for him. And there are so many places that you could put him. I don't think Hantai is the right match for him, honestly. I could see him in the United Empire. I could see him, if he has to go back to Bullet Club, put him with the War Dogs. He can be back with Ishimori. They can be, do the stupid, shitty things, but also have good matches. I just feel like I don't want them to cop out and like put him in House of Torture because for what? Why? There's no reason. There's no reason for him, especially given the amount of, I don't need a guy like ELP squandering his talent in House of Torture.
Yeah.
Like they're not gonna. I mean, if they're gonna put him in a happy, feel-good faction, put him with Chaos. Let him hang out with Yoshihashi and Goto and all the guys he's down for the last 4 years. Like, give him somewhere where he can continue to wrestle, but also have a plan for him.
Yeah,
sounds like he needs to go to ROH. Is basically what you're saying.
I mean,
let him wrestle.
He could do. The commute will be shorter.
Yeah, I think part of what they're trying to do, and not well.
I mean, if you want to make the commute really short, you go to Impact.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jerry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
I think part of what they're trying to do is also set up this Umino ELP tag team, because clearly, like, both those guys are not really doing much right now, and so you could always use new tag teams, new tag challengers. So I think the end goal of this whole thing was to let's get ELP and Umino together, but we had to go through him questioning, trusting Jado, trusting Tanahashi, taking the House of Torture shirt and this whole thing. And I did laugh though at Evil's, do you trust him? Come on, man. You were Bullet Club. Do you trust them?
Here's the thing, okay? I don't necessarily think that's the worst booking in the world, but it's good booking for Shota, who kind of needs new direction and stuff. But ELP just came out of a tag team within Hantai. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of past that at this point. He already held all the gold you could possibly hold in the tag ranks. Like, what more is he gonna obtain at this point? He needs to go singles, and he needs to have better matches than what he had in the tournament. I know that like I was an apologist for him in this tournament, but like really the only standout match was the Takeshita match, and to me that felt like a Tony Khan tryout more than anything else.
Well, and the other hard part about with ELP is that he can't be the crutch that fixes Shota Umino. Umino needs to focus on helping himself instead of trying to fix other people.
Yeah, he needs to look inward.
Yes, take a good look in the mirror. Be like, I'm not Moxley, I'm not Tanahashi. Stop saying that you're the ace when you're not acting like it right now, buddy.
There's a reason
10-minute entrance doesn't make you an ace. Sorry.
There's a reason people in the back locker room don't like you. You need to figure out what that is and work on it.
We got some questions here. Death Triangle 720 says, question to Karen. What are your thoughts on Shota Umino and ELP?
Kind of feels like a dating app a meetup that's gone wrong. I don't like where it's going. I don't. It doesn't feel like an organic tag team. I just feel like they're trying to prepare like fodder for World Tag League in November. I just don't know. I don't think they're going to have the rivalry of all rivalries right now. I just don't know what the point is. And it shouldn't be about making up for the fact that neither of them got very far in the G1.
My follow-up to that would be, what are the worst dating app meetups we've each collectively had? But I don't think
that sounds like a Patreon episode.
Podcast called "Karen's Gonna Die Alone." Hear all the disaster stories that I went on.
Oh man. He also asked, do you think Shota has to turn heel, or does he just need to take a second excursion for him to come back as a tweener?
I think it's bad that we're at the point now where people are expecting for Shota Umino to go on a second excursion to correct him. Like that's a bad sign when we're at the point where like he needs to become Naito or Nakamura and he needs to go away to come back corrected and baptized by the Mexican fans as a new thing altogether, because he's getting wholesale rejected by the Western audience. I don't know if the domestic crowd feels this way, but that's how it feels.
Love him. They love that he's the second coming of Tanahashi in their eyes. They love that still does the Moxley entrance. He loves everything. He's kissing babies. He's giving out bracelets. He's taking 10 minutes for an entrance on every single house show. They can't get enough of it. I don't think, because we're coming up on the second anniversary of his return, because historic crossovers is in November, which is around when he had that match with Ospreay. I don't think at this stage a second excursion is going to fix anything. Like, I don't know where, because they don't do New Japan Strong shows consistently like they used to with when they with the dojo and everything like that else like that. Now it would be, he'd have to either go to ROH or he'd have to go back to Rev Pro or do what Kenta's doing, go down to Australia for the G1 apparently. Like, I just don't know what would fix him right now. But I still feel like he needs to figure out who he is as a wrestler, because right now he's a piecemeal between Tanahashi, Moxley, and Ospreay. Like, even though he's taken bits and pieces from everyone and like renamed them, or everything he's inherited, he still does too much presentation getting to the ring, but not enough presentation in the ring. Like, he's not like there's a disconnect between all of it right now.
There's a little Naito in there too.
That he can't get over with the fans.
No, just the hair.
I'm gonna shoot whichever stylists they're taking these guys to that are just frying their hair out.
Jeremy has his own theories on that stuff.
On what?
On his hair.
Oh yeah. Well, if you know the render thing, like the company, every render they put up of him, it's the old render of his hair longer. But everybody else has a new render. Like Bolton has a new render. Callum has a new render. Uemura has had like 3 hairstyles now. He has a new render. They don't have the red hair render for him anymore. So it's like, even the company's like, we want you to get the hair back.
Tsuji wants him to go. They want Tsuji to go back to what he was before he cut the hair short and started doing cry faces on Twitter and shit like that.
You mean Umino?
Umino.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, when he came back from excursion, he had really good hair. Really good hair.
He did.
And then he just started coloring it and cutting it, and none of the style, he needs to go to a new salon because his barber's doing him dirty. Very dirty.
Yeah. I mean, that last match he had with Ospreay was like the best look. Those tights, the long hair, like
I don't like his current tights. I liked the Tanahashi tights that he came back with.
Yes. I
don't like the bell bottoms. They make him look. The look is too old for him.
They're like
same thing with Master Wato. They're in their early mid 20s. They should be wearing either straight up tights or shorts, trunks, whatever, but not the Taguchi bell bottoms.
They remind me of when Shawn Michaels went to the pants as opposed to the tights in 2005. But Shawn only did that because he was covering up the knee braces that he had, and he didn't want to wear them over his tights. But I don't think Shota Umino has any knee braces. He's just
not that I'm aware of. No.
Yeah.
He just wants to wear furry, long, soft pants.
He's just making bad choices.
Bad choices.
Save the pajama pants for home, son.
Yeah.
Cozy times after the bath, after the match.
We had a question from Pussy Destroyer 83619.
Yes.
He says, people get flack to Umino for not really having a character. He really is just a combination of Mox and Tanahashi with nothing of his own creation, even his finisher. Does Tsuji really have much more character than Umino? He just acts like a cocky newcomer that smiles a lot. Really, what makes Tsuji amazing is his wrestling ability. Maybe that's all it takes for Japanese wrestling, but do you think it has a long shelf life? Right now, I do think Tsuji is above Umino and Narita in the pecking order, but I don't think it sets in stone.
Okay, I get what you're saying. And I don't want to throw the word racism around, but like it starts to verge on that a little bit because everybody is a variation of somebody that came before them. You could do that with Stone Cold Steve Austin. You could do that with Ric Flair. You could do that with Hulk Hogan. They're all just variations of guys that existed before them that they just built upon. They're really, I mean, I don't know who's like truly unique. Maybe Jeff Hardy. Like, you know, there really aren't that many top guys that like exist on their own existence and are just totally, wholly, uniquely their own with no input or influence from guys that preceded them. And I see that same criticism for Tsuji where they're like, he's just a Nakamura ripoff or he's just, you know, whatever. And I see that with all these guys, but like, that's just pro wrestling. Everybody's a ripoff of somebody on some level. It just is what it is. They said the same thing about Baba and Inoki when it came to Ricky Dozan.
What I liked about Tsuji and what's made him consistently stand apart from more so Umino and Narita, more so than not so much more so than Uemura, is when he came back from Excursion. Yes, great hair, lots of smiling, sharp threads, but he was the one who's walking up to Naito and being like, I want to join LIJ, instead of being like, I'm just gonna like stroll up and be automatically de facto Hantai and then work my way up and then either heel turn or choose to go. Tsuji, and you know, is he more? Yes, he does have a character. Tsuji has the tough lot of being in LIJ, which is a group of people who all are big personalities. And it's like I've seen people compare Tsuji to Sonata when Sonata was in LIJ. And I'm like, no, he still shows more personality than Sonata did when Sonata was in LIJ. And this is coming from someone who is a Sonata fan. I think he is head and shoulders above Narita and Umino at this point, even though we don't see big character work. And I think that's only because we're dealing with people who have with your Ren Narita being in House of Torture, and it's all character work and not necessarily all that much wrestling. Tsuji has an aura, and it's that of a star. And if you're not on board with that, I'm sorry. This is where I think you're wrong, because I think he has a very long shelf life. I don't think he needs to come with a prepackaged personality right out the gate. Is it taking longer to possibly see something from him? Maybe, but again, that's just because he's surrounded by people with big personality. He's stuck with Naito and Shingo and Hiromu, all big personalities. Bushi is just, you know, fancy flashy masks and a really unnecessary long entrance. But
and a rich wife.
What?
And a rich wife.
Well, you know. The dream, honestly. I need to find me a rich wife. But it's one of those things where he has not just the skills, but the look, and his promos are great. He's the entire package. And I think that's the one thing that's lacking for Narita and Umino. I would say Uemura, his only downfall right now is that he got injured. That's it. So I would actually flip-flop them, where even though Tsuji and Uemura are junior to Narita and Shota, they're doing leaps and bounds better matches, far more entertaining presentation. I mean, even the hair versus hair match, that turned a lot of heads. We haven't seen Umino versus Ren Narita have a hair versus hair match. They weren't the ones willing to put their egos on the line for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think just look at the booking placement of what they've done since they've come back. Like, Tsuji came back in a world title. First of all, a world title angle post match, and then a world title match as his first comeback match at Dominion, like second biggest show of the year. Whereas like Umino came back at historic crossover, like a new like co-branded show against Ospreay in the U.S. title picture. Like they clearly see one guy a little bit ahead of the other. And
After
Tsuji,
just losing to him at Rev Pro too.
right?
At Royal Quest.
So yeah, Tsuji, he has the charisma, he has a crowd connection. He's a great wrestler. I think he's the closest to a full package out of all those guys. He just edges over Umino, and Umino he just needs to get his own identity. I don't know what that is, what he needs to do. I don't know if he needs to turn heel, go to Mexico, go back to the UK, go to Ring of Honor, but he has to do something.
They also need to not let Red Shoes referee any of his matches. I need that. I need that to stop being the story that, oh, well, it's his father. We know.
The problem is, though,
stop browbeating us with it.
How can he be the top guy if his dad isn't, who is the like senior referee, isn't refereeing his main event matches?
Yeah.
The real Discord daddy says wait till Oiwa returns.
Yeah, he's apparently having a runaway tournament over in the N1 right now and doing very well in Noah.
Yeah.
He might just stay. Who knows?
No, we are not trading Oiwa for Jake Lee. No, we get Oiwa back.
Can we have Keno? Can we get Keno instead of Jake Lee? Can we send Jake Lee back, please?
Every time I think about Keno now, I think about Gabe Kidd's promo. He's like, oh, Keno. You little fist out like this. I'm Keno.
Who did that?
Gabe Kidd.
Of course he did.
It's like, Keno.
What is Brat, by the way? Do you guys know what this fucking Brat thing is?
I don't know what the current incarnation of it is.
What?
But, growing up in the 80s, we used the term brat for calling somebody an asshole.
Yeah.
But I guess there's
this brat thing going on. I don't know if you know about it, Jeremy.
The modern usage of brat is that it's kind of cutesy, but kind of a pain in the ass. And I'm just like, no, that it's you're being a little shit. Stop it.
Yeah, I just turned 35. I don't know none of this, Gen Z lingo. I'm lost.
Little babies, all of you.
Last two questions on this match. Barry Walsh says, with all his cosplaying, I've said it before, is Umino just Sonata 2.0? Only wrestles up to his opponents, inconsistent, and is just lacking something, despite being fundamentally good and looking the part.
I would say there are some apt comparisons, but I do think that there is a compelling charisma behind Shota Umino at times that Sonata has lacked pretty much consistently his whole career.
Yeah, we've seen Umino kind of get that fire and kind of kick it to a next gear that I don't think we've ever seen Sonata really kick it into.
Well, Umino also has the young plucky underdog side to him that Sonata really doesn't have, because Sonata's tall handsome man does tall handsome man things. But with Umino, he's only in his mid-20s. There is time for him to reprogram all the bad habits out of him. He just needs to be the one to get his shit together and do the work. Shota needs a brat summer. I think he's in his brat summer right now, honestly.
Umino would have way more riz if he was on the coke.
Absolutely not.
Oh, man.
Stop that.
I don't know what that summer is. Oh, man.
And Barry's last question is, do you think ELP needs to turn heel on Jado, or is that his swan song? Only having 2 points more than Callum Newman and being second lowest total is a bit shocking.
I just feel embarrassed that we projected him to be a finalist in the block on this show when we predicted the fucking tournament. He ended up one of the top two lowest. And shout out to everybody in the Discord that browbeat us over it because they thought that they were smart. We thought they were dumb. And they were right. And we were dumb.
That we doesn't include me. Just so we're clear.
Karen's like, I am smart.
I am so smart. SMRT. I feel like ELP needs to cut bait on Jado, but I know that basically Jado is Ghetto and Jigtogo. He needs a project. I just don't know if babyface ELP is the project for Jado right now. It's he needs something, and I don't think it needs to be a heel turn on Jado. I just think Jado needs to realize his services are probably best used elsewhere, and it's not as the manager of a babyface wrestler, but not in House of Torture, which would leave him with Kenta and the unaffiliated Bullet Club guys that are just kind of floating around in like the mid. Minus Ishimori, it's the mid-card Bullet Club guys.
ELP,
and I hate including Kenta in that because he was my first Puro love was Kenta. So it's the he needs to do something different, and it's not managing ELP.
MJ said, "Give Jado Bolton."
Absolutely not. You leave that nice boy. You leave that nice Kazakhstan boy alone. He's doing fine. But I think with Jado, it's the Jado speaks Japanese, so that could be part of the reason why he's with ELP. Bolton doesn't need it because he speaks Japanese very well, actually.
Yeah, he does.
So it's that I just don't know what. Yeah, I was surprised that he got only so many points in this G1 after they made such a big deal about him going heavyweight. He needs a project. They need plans for him, and the fact that they don't have plans. It begs the question: where is ELP going to come January when contract negotiations and contract signing deadlines come up? Because in Japan, you have to re-sign your contract usually it's between like end of November, beginning of January, because end of January leads towards the end of March, which is the end of the fiscal year. So that's when I don't unless they give something to ELP very soon, I don't see him staying with the company past January unless they make him New Japan Strong Openweight champion and he does the US shows, because he's still wildly popular here too.
Yeah, I mean, when we interviewed him and Hikuleo in December,
that's what I was gonna get on.
Yeah, he was throwing out we had no plans to ask about contract status. He's like, oh, by the way, yeah, contracts coming up. We're looking at options. Yeah, I'd be happy to go here. Go, try this place. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it just depends on if next year he needs to go on another charity tour for the podcasts and go on every single New Japan podcast that's out there, and then be like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with us beyond January 4th. We'll see what happens. It just depends. We're open for business. We're talking to different people, and we're like, all right. So what's the inner workings of Bullet Club? We were trying to have a kayfabe conversation, and they were like, yeah, we're really focused on our contracts here.
We want more money. We want to be home with our families. No,
we
want you punch people in the nuts. That's what we want to know about.
So moving on to the semi-main, we had LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, Shingo, and Naito defeating the United Empire team of Callum Newman, Great Okan, Hanare, and Jeff Cobb. And so once again, we saw the continuation of the build for Great Okan and Naito, and then the build for Hiromu and Hanare. And Hiromu got the win here on Hanare with the unnamed roll-up. So it's another a new wacky roll-up that Hiromu is doing. Got the roll-up.
It's not the Hiromu roll. It's a new roll.
It's a new roll-up. It's called
the Hiromu roll.
Yeah, it's called the unnamed roll. He does not have a name for it yet. And so
it's not the D.
It wasn't the D. No, he didn't give him the D.
Is the D a triangle submission choke?
Yeah.
He didn't give him the D?
He didn't give him a D. He didn't give him a Gene Blast.
You have to ask for consent. People aren't consenting to the D. Sorry.
So yeah, unknown.
Ever since Me Too, he hasn't been giving out the D. Unsolicited.
So yeah, I guess the pin on Hanare. Hanare was shocked, flabbergasted that Hiromu got the pin on him. So building that match up there. So that was kind of the point of this match. I had a question from Dark Soldier. Do you think they have the balls to give Hiromu the never belt? They won't, but I'm like a kid who believes his dad will come back with a carton of milk. He said he went out to pick up. I just need to believe Hiromu can win.
It's fucked up. I think it's time to start believing. Just gonna throw that out there.
I believe in Hiromu.
What's that guy in NXT? The
Joe Henry.
Joe Henry?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
What's
say
the deal
his name
with
and he will appear?
Yeah, I believe in Hiromu.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to jump on your. I don't know Joe Henry, so I didn't know that your joke was also the Joe Henry thing. I didn't know.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's like Tinkerbell. You got to believe Otherwise, you can't grant wishes. I think if you believe, you might see Hiromu win that never belt.
All you have to do is believe.
I hate it here.
All I'm going to ask you is this: what's more marketable, Hiromu walking into the Dome with the Never title, or Hanare? And I love Hanare. Take nothing away from Hanare, but we got a couple Dome shows to fill. We need to get some stars with some title belts. We got a few months to do that, so
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if Hiromu wins this belt. There's a reason they're pushing him right now. There's a reason he got this win.
I feel like, like I might sound like a broken record, but there's nothing left for Hiromu to do with the juniors. And I know he loves the juniors and wants to stay with the juniors. If the never open weight is the closest I'm ever going to get to him being a heavyweight, then yes, put the belt on him. Because, I feel like, you mentioned the Dome show. We have to remember that when the New Japan Cup during the pandemic happened, he almost pinned. Did he pin Kazuchika Okada?
He got close.
He got close to it.
But he beat Ishii and he beat several others. He beat Yano.
Well, I mean, Yano's not a big stretch, but I'll take the Ishii one.
But he was afraid of Yano. Yano was trying to cut his hair.
He was also trying to murder him with scissors and lock him in an elevator, like you do.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorite memories of the pandemic era wrestling.
It was the wild times. It's only been 3 years since that happened, by the way.
AEW fans have Jacksonville. I've got,
we've got Yano empty Korakuen Hall and empty studio shows. But it's one of those things where Hiromu is one of those guys that, when I hear the conversation of so-and-so is going heavyweight, I've said for years, Hiromu needs to go heavyweight. Desperado, when his knee is all healed up and he's ready to come back, he also needs to go either open or heavyweight. Like there's as much as I love watching them in Super Juniors and wrestling and fighting constantly for the junior heavyweight belt, they're beyond it at this point. And if you want to rebuild the Never division, or you want to start pushing people towards, are we ever going to see Hiromu as world champion? That'd be great. But I don't think that they're confident enough because they've never let him have his, I want the juniors to main event a night of Wrestle Kingdom. They've never let that happen. But I could see him on a Wrestle Kingdom card defending the never open weight against somebody.
Against Naito.
Make it. I mean, if we're not going to have, and you know what? Naito would put him over.
We'll get there, but I think that's what's happening. But, before Will Ospreay went heavyweight, he went never. Before,
Shingo
Ibushi went heavyweight, before Shingo went heavyweight, they both went never. There's a precedent there, especially in modern New Japan in the last, 6 to 7 years. Guys that were juniors need to go never before they can go heavyweight. And unfortunately, if you're Kushida, you don't get to do that, but the rest of them get to.
That was a deep cut, sir. That was a very deep cut.
All right, well, let's get to the G1 final here. It came home. Zack Sabre Jr. defeats Yota Tsuji in 31 minutes and 4 seconds. Had a question here from Rich, or a comment. He says, who let a white man win my G1?
Rich is just butthurt. I don't even know why Rich is listening to us. Doesn't he have his own fucking show to do tonight? Are they not recording now?
They start late.
How late? It's almost 9 o'clock.
It's almost 9.
They start like 10.
Like Grandma pull her robe out. Sorry, it's almost 9 o'clock, kids. What are you doing?
We start recording at 7 so we can go to bed early. Like, what the fuck? No, but I'll just throw this out there. Within the context of the G1 Climax itself, of course, this is only the second time ever that a foreigner, unless you count Riki Choshu, but I don't really count Riki Choshu, but if you count Riki Choshu, then it's the third time. But realistically, it's more like the second time that a foreigner has ever finally something for the white people to celebrate. I think white people have a lot of things to celebrate in the history of humanity.
This is going off the rails.
White's on top.
White's Shut the fuck up, Jeremy. Second time that a foreigner has ever won the G1. But if you're looking at the round robin tournament that New Japan has done at the top of the company, you're talking about a very short list of rarefied air. Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Kenny Omega, and now Zack Sabre Jr. The only 4 Westerner foreigners that have ever won a top heavyweight tournament within New Japan's history. And to be honest, even though I picked Zack Sabre to win this tournament, Dan Coffin says us. Even though I picked Zack Sabre to win this tournament, and even though I predicted the finals to be the exact one that we got, I still kind of thought I was wrong. I just sort of was hoping that this is what would happen. And I can't fucking believe that Zack Sabre won. And not only did he win, he won by submission, the first submission victory in a G1 Climax since 2004. And it was immaculate. The crowd was behind him and they fucking freaked out. And it was incredible. And it was a great, great match. Was it the match of the tournament? Maybe not. But it was awesome. And I unfortunately was spoiled on the match before I got to watch it.
Same.
No.
Same.
Yeah. And let me just throw this out there. Rod Easter, I know you're listening. That dude that fucking spoiled the fucking shit for me and Jeremy, a warning's not strict enough. You need to boot that dude from your fucking group, okay? They don't get 3 warnings when the thing they spoiled was the G1 fucking Climax.
The final.
Boot them from your fucking group. I don't care if they're, one of the top contributors to the group. Fuck them. Anyways, it's not the same. Spoiling, Road to Destruction Night 6 is not the same thing as spoiling the G1 Climax. Anyways, this ruled. It was fucking incredible.
Yeah, it was an awesome match.
It was great. It was. Zach Porter says it was great hearing my name chanted in Ryogoku. That makes me want a Josh to do really well in New Japan so I can hear them chanted in Beppu.
I mean, you could have Josh Briggs, but he's over in the N1 right now.
Yikes.
No, he's a pedophile. I don't want him to.
Oh my God, really? No.
Yeah, he was one of those speaking out dudes. You don't know about Josh Briggs?
One of those evolved dudes.
Apparently, I don't.
Yeah,
who that man?
Who's the other dude? The dude that's
Theory.
Austin Theory. Him and Austin Theory were both sexting a 12-year-old girl. It was really bad.
Oh.
I don't know how they still have jobs. I don't know how they're in this industry. I'll keep saying it on the air because they're both pedophiles.
Well, then not him. That's not our guy. We'll find a better Josh.
But yeah, the match.
I wish it could be me, but my highest aim is to win the Tampa Bay Pro World Title.
Well, then we'll just use Jack. We'll use Jack Morris right now.
I'll pretend that when they are chanting Jag, it's Josh.
But yeah, this match was awesome. Even spoiled, I thought it was a great matchup. The crowd was so hot, and the crowd, they were getting behind whoever was down. So if Tsuji's down, Yota, Zach's down, Zaku. And so, yeah, incredible atmosphere. Tsuji working over the midsection of Zach. That's kind of been a story throughout this tournament. Zach using the techers on Tsuji to outmaneuver the power, catch him in holds when he's going for the Gene Blast. A lot of great counters, a lot of great big spots. Sabre, showing his power. He busted out a lariat. Whenever you ever see Sabre starting to throw lariats now, it's crazy. But yeah, a lot of great strikes, a lot of great reversals here. Tsuji was killing Sabre with the strikes. Lots of V-triggers on Zach. But yeah, it's a really, really awesome matchup here. Towards the end, of course, Tsuji's going for the Gene Blast. He gets caught, and I think it was a Clarky Cat. He just starts wrapping him up, grabs the arms, grabs the legs. In the middle of the ring, there's nowhere to go. He had to verbally tap out, and it came home. Zack Sabre Jr. wins the G1.
I also liked that Zach included a shout to Yoshinari Ogawa, who very unceremoniously, very secretly, very stealthily retired, and gave him heaped on a lot of flowers as to someone who is probably responsible for his success, not just in Japan, but in Noah specifically, and led him on, like, set him on the course to where he is today. And also, Tsuji, and he did this in a couple of matches. He included Uemura's deadbolt suplex in it. So it makes me wonder if Uemura might have been in the conversation for getting closer to the finals than he actually did, had his elbow not done the bendy bit.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's like, even though they're rivals, that acknowledging someone that important to your career, even though, you know, they're only just getting started when you talk about Tsuji and Uemura, but I love that kind of sportsmanship and mutual respect. But the fact that the more that Zack kind of looked like a python that was just trying to smother an alligator, like he was just wrapping around him, and it was like slower and slower. I'm like, he's still going. He's still. I don't think Tsuji's built to bend this way. He's not like a whiny noodly man. He's a beefy guy who likes the pudding and does like the lucha things. So it's just I actually woke up and started my morning with this match, and then waited for the archive to go back and watch the rest of the show. So how I got in just like without the previous match, like not being being spoiled for it, but it was just I really liked this match. Again, was it the best match of the G1? Probably not, but it's the best match they could have had after 3 weeks of abusing themselves in the ring and doing all the things. And I loved the crowd reception. I loved seeing Zack run into the audience with the trophy and with all the people. And, you know, my TMDK fangirl heart was like, finally.
I do want to point out, LIJ are some hoes.
Right? Oh yeah.
Because
I'm mad at them.
Was rolling deep for Zack. You know, like even Robbie fucking flew into the country to support his boy. But like, where the fuck was Bushi?
He was probably on. They were dressed, packed up, and probably on the train home.
Yeah,
they were. LIJ, but LIJ always does this.
They were in the semi-main event. They were the match ahead time. They were in the showers. They were cleaning up
their press conference, and they were packing up their suitcases and going.
T-shirt and some fucking shorts and run out there for your boy.
This is the guy that's going to probably take over LIJ when Naito retires. Y'all should be in the man's corner.
He's leaving LIJ. He's gonna start his own shit. He's pulling.
You think so?
Yeah, he's gonna leave Rise and form Chaos is what he's gonna do. Like it's written in the stars, but especially since they don't support him.
Yeah, especially with that big plea to be like, I want to join you guys, and they're just like, good luck on your G1, bud. Bye, bye, night.
But I loved that he got the Gene Blast the one time, but couldn't follow up on it. But there was 2 times where he got very close to hitting the Gene Blast, and Zack had scouted it and was able to reverse it into arm locks that turned into, you know, very, very like close submission, and then ultimately submission victory. Zack says, win on your own. Rambo Slam Pig says he's going to scoop on Xandicon and Teton and roll out. That's what he needs to do. We need a Mexican, like, you know, Viva la Raza. You know what I'm saying?
What's Andrade doing these days?
We bowdy, and we rowdy. Let's go.
I believe Andrade is the speed champion right now.
Oh, God.
Does that involve cocaine? I don't understand.
It's the gimmick where they wrestle on Twitter. They have like the 5-minute matches on Twitter.
Does that involve the cocaine, children? I don't know.
But anyways, Zack picks up the win. He runs through the crowd with the fucking trophy. People are going crazy for him. It was awesome. Just like you mentioned, Jeremy, when one guy was down, they got behind him, whoever that person was. For the first time, it felt like in forever, Zack was in a major match with a big time guy and got into a striking battle and didn't lose. He didn't crumble under the pressure. Like he was able to hold his own and pull out the victory. I've seen people that are very down on the idea that a Reiwa guy got to the final, didn't win, and lost to, you know, a foreigner. And they're just like, you know, fuck the new generation. But like, let's be real about this.
Yeah, no.
When was the last time since 2012 that any young generation guys got into the finals of a G1 Climax. It's never happened under Gato. And then if you look even further and you go into like the full history of domestic stars that have finaled any tournament, any heavyweight tournament in New Japan history that didn't eventually win the tournament and win the IWGP or IWGP World title, it's never happened. The only common comparison you could probably point to for a young guy who got to a finals of a G1 Climax and then didn't fulfill their potential was like Hiroshi Hase in 1992. Like, the reality is the fact that they put Yota Tsuji in the finals this early into his career, he's gonna be a top guy. He's gonna win the world title. He's gonna headline Tokyo Domes. He's going to win the G1 Climax. This shit is happening. And if it didn't happen now, it's okay, because guess what? It's his first year back from excursion, baby. Mm-hmm. And you can complain about it, but the reality is he won the New Japan Cup. He finaled in the in the G1 Climax, and we're not that far off from him winning the world title. It's okay for Zack Sabre Jr. to be the second foreigner to have ever won this shit against a surging young lion returnee from excursion. It's okay.
And the thing is, like, you know, Zach's been wrestling for 20 years. Like, he's been wrestling 3 times as long as Tsuji has been. And he's done the time. He went through, yes, he didn't go through the Noge dojo. He went through the Noah dojo. He's been in Japan for almost 10 years. He's worked his way up, and he's taken a back seat to guys that have come in after him. He took a back seat to Ospreay. He took a back seat to Jay White. He's bid his time, but kept on going. So it's one of those things where it's honestly, I've been saying for the last 3 years, I wanted Zach to win the G1. It's long overdue. I think he just needed the right timing where he wasn't in a company that had Jay White, Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada. He didn't need, there was too much of a bottleneck at the top of the company where he could not get in.
Yeah. Match was great. I'm happy for Zach. And I think, it was like Zach's been saying in his interviews, it was now or never, really. Like, we're at that kind of period where, the guys like Tsuji, like, it's starting to be their time. And so Zach's kind of that holdover of that kind of present generation of guys that have been there and haven't won the big one yet. And so I think now was the time to go with Zach. Awesome match. Also want to mention Tsuji doing the Zach driver was dope. And also he had this new move, I think it's called the 77 crash, something like that. Like this kind of like that swinging like powerbomb thing he did.
And he did it off the top rope.
Yeah, that was dope. So there was just a lot of really cool moves in this match. And I don't know. I love this match. I thought there was so much great energy. And Zach celebrating with the crowd in the end and getting the flag, getting the trophy, doing the big, confetti. Yeah, everything about this was awesome.
And Jeremy's nothing if not a slut for cool moves.
Yes, incredible moves.
Incredible moves.
We have a bunch of questions here. I guess one more thing before we jump into the questions. So Zach did say in the post-match promo, he loves Ryogoku. He doesn't want to wait till the Tokyo Dome. He wants to come back in Ryogoku for King of Pro Wrestling and challenge the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. So we're throwing tradition out the window. He's saying that was Okada's tradition. We don't need to do that anymore. Why wait? I love Ryogoku. I want to win the belt here. So Zach is going to be challenging the winner of the Great Okan Naito match at King of Pro Wrestling.
Listen, we'll get into the weeds with that, but let me just throw this out there. Number one, when did they start doing the winner gets a title shot at Wrestle Kingdom? 2012, when Okada won the G1 at the start of the Bushiroad era. It never really existed prior to then. Sure, there were guys that challenged there, but it wasn't a precedent. It wasn't consecutive. It always varied year to year. Number two, 2019, you and I, Jeremy, we're in Dallas. What the fuck did Zack Sabre Jr. say in the press conference? He said, if I win this tournament, I'm not challenging at Wrestle Kingdom. He said, I'm challenging in the UK. I'm challenging early. I want to challenge for the title at whatever the UK show was there. Every single year that this dude has been in the press conference prior to the G1, he has said, I don't want to challenge at Wrestle Kingdom. This has been an ongoing thing for like 6 years consecutive, and people are acting like it's this thing that came out of left field. Oh my God, they pulled an audible. Maybe they did. Maybe it has something to do with AEW and the 1.5 and the 1.4, but guess what? The groundwork was laid in 2019 when this guy said, I don't want to challenge at Wrestle Kingdom. It didn't come out of left field for him. And he's been saying it for years and years and years and years and years.
Yeah. I'm surprised it wasn't at Royal Quest, because before this match, we did get the Royal Quest announcement for after King of Pro Wrestling. So I was like, oh, maybe that's where they're going to do it.
As soon as they announced that made people probably be like, he might win this shit.
But he did promise to make his first defense as champion at Royal Quest, so that could be on the books there. All right, let's go. RKJ versus
Michael Oku. Shota Umino needs to lose at Royal Quest, so he's going to challenge at Royal Quest. So Zach gets a win.
We'll get a bunch of questions here. Let's run through these. Wukong 901 says they came home still in disbelief. What are your guys' take on ZSJ challenging earlier than the Dome? It makes sense because they got Royal Quest 4, and him entering as champion would do good, hopefully. I'm curious to see what the Dome main event will look like. Do we get ZSJ walking in as champion for challenging Naito? What a good time to be a fan.
Okay, so I am actually all for people challenging for the championship before the Dome, especially after the G1 that Naito just had. I love me some Tetsuya Naito, don't get me wrong, but his knees have been on borrowed time for the last 4 years, and it's becoming more and more apparent, especially after his match with Moxley, that I don't think he has a 4 to 5 match defense road to the Dome left in him right now. He hasn't proved otherwise. That yes, we can get main event Naito between now and January. I like that. See, I didn't even know that Zach's been talking about this for years at this point, which that is him following through on something that he wants to do to further carve out his own niche within New Japan is really great. Royal Quest is the bane of my existence only because the one time I finally got to go, there was a hurricane here and I couldn't leave the country. Still salty about that, and that was 2 years ago. So him walking into Royal Quest 4 potentially as champion, that if those tickets aren't on sale yet, they're going to sell out very quickly. And I think for him coming in as champion kind of puts it a bookend. Well, I mean, he's not ending his career anytime soon, but as somebody who's representative of the British wrestling scene, being able to walk into your own country with a championship to kind of, give that back to the people who supported you when you were wrestling in those tiny little, bingo holes and bar. Like I've been in some bars in the UK where they have wrestling. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Little tiny rings.
It kind of, you remember Guilt Nightclub where they had MLW?
Yeah, in
That's
Orlando.
The vibe. Yeah. That's the vibe for some of them. So it's I'm firmly in the camp that he's gonna finally get the belt at King of Pro Wrestling. He's going to walk into Royal Quest as champion. He's going in. I don't know if he'll defend at Power Struggle because that'll be Super Junior Tag League finals on that show. But if he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Going into the Dome, I feel like I don't know if people would want to see this main event, but Okada would be the one that people would probably sell out the building because it would be Okada back in the Dome. Selfishly, I kind of want Taichi or Shibata, neither of which are going to be the main event of a Tokyo Dome show. But I still remember how Taichi reacted to Ospreay when Suzuki-gun dissolved and Zack became the front man of TMDK. And the moment that Ospreay mentioned something to Taichi about it, he was ready to knock the smug look right off his face. But I feel like at some point, one of the defenses has to be against Taichi. I just don't see it being at the Dome.
Sure. Well, I already shared with you guys sort of the precedence of Zack Sabre Jr. stating in the past that he wanted to challenge early. So it's not like this is new territory for him. So that already sort of kind of answers some of the question that's here. But, you know, you kind of have to think about a couple different things and what I'm taking into consideration for what's going to happen moving forward when it comes to the Naito, Zack Sabre Jr. conundrum and kind of prolonged booking the Wrestle Kingdom situation. There is an interesting factoid that I don't know if you guys have thought about. It's something that I thought about this week and I've really been thinking heavily about. In the long history of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and this goes beyond the Gedo period just to all history, they have only ever done 3 main events in the Tokyo Dome that involved 2 guys that had never headlined prior to that. In the long history of New Japan's booking, they have always put a proven draw and proven headliner from the previous past against a unproven challenger, whether that's Okada taking on Kenny Omega for the first time, whether that's Naito headlining with Okada, whether that's Okada headlining with Tanahashi with Nakamura, and the list goes on and on. They always have somebody who has been to the dance before wrestle with somebody who's never been there, and then in the future, that person who's been there before is now established and can headline with somebody else. They don't do unproven challengers. The last time they ever did 2 guys who have never been there together before was 1995, and it was Keiji Muto and Nobuhiko Takada. And they were the 2 biggest stars in the fucking world at the time and did one of the biggest gates in the history of Japanese wrestling and wrestling in general. Since then, they don't do that. With that being said, I think Zack Sabre Jr. is winning this title. I think it would be a waste of him having won the cup to win the G1 and then to go, to challenge Naito early and not win. Now, of course, they could do a return match down the road, and sure, that's fine. They could do it the other way. They could have Zack win and then Naito challenge him down the road. But then at that point, you're having Naito challenge 2 white dudes for a title that he was upset for in the same year. It's just more of the same. It's kind of uninspired booking at that point in time. If hypothetically Zack is going to headline the Dome, it's going to be against a headliner that has headlined the Dome before, and it's going to be a domestic star. There's no way they're putting him in there with a foreigner that's headlined before. So that means we're not getting him and Kenny. We're not getting him and Ospreay. We're not getting him and Jay White. And then when you look at the guys that have headlined the Dome in the past, most of them are Nakamura's working for WWE, Kojima, Nagata, Suzuki, Fujita. They're all too old. Tanahashi's broken down. Ibushi's broken down. You really only have 3 options. You got Shingo, who's probably not a big enough draw to headline the Dome against Zack Sabre Jr., unless when you're comparing him against the other options. You got Naito, but it's not the most inspired booking, and I'm starting to feel like we're going to lead to a Shingo versus Hiromu match that really just leaves Kazuchika Okada. And I upset a lot of people online when I said that Zack said Brock.
Absolutely not.
It would take, in order for him to wrestle a foreigner that was non-domestic in the main event, it would take a Brock Lesnar, a John Cena, or a Dwayne Johnson. Those are like the only guys that he could headline against.
I'm trying to picture Zack Sabre Jr. versus with John Cena. Math not mathing right now.
No, I upset a lot of people this week when I said that I think that we're gonna get Okada versus Zack Sabre Jr. I think Zack Sabre Jr. is gonna win the title. I think he's gonna head into the UK with the title. I think he might even defend it against Taichi before we get to the Dome. And then he's gonna head into the Dome, and we're gonna get him and Okada. How do we set up that match? The same way we've set up every single Westerner versus New Japan Star match. He's going to send in a video package the same way Kenny Omega did, the same way Chris Jericho did, and then we'll be off to the races. What does that probably mean? It might mean Okada loses the C2. He drops his little title and he comes to the Dome. And guess what? At the end of the day, Okada's Okada. He doesn't need to win. He can do business with Zack. He's lost to Zack before. Yep. and
we're not going to have Okada walking out and taking the belt back to AEW.
I really doubt that heavily. Of course, it could happen. But like, given precedent, it would be unprecedented for Zack Sabre Jr. to walk into the Dome and to wrestle anyone other than another Dome headliner. It hasn't happened in almost 30 years. And the only time they ever did it, they've only done it 3 times. They did it Inoki versus Shota Chochitili or whatever that guy's name was in the inaugural Dome match in 1989. The second time was Ric Flair versus Fujinami, the 2 greatest workers and 2 of the biggest draws from the 80s on their respective continents in a dream match. And then they did it in 1995 when Nobuhiko Takada was the biggest star in the world versus Muto, the other biggest star from New Japan, in the biggest crossover match you could have possibly done at the time. And since then, they've never done that. Every time they've done a Dome match, it's been an up-and-comer versus another established guy, going back for generations and generations. They're not. Now, of course, maybe Zack loses, and maybe this whole G1 was for naught, but what are we going to do with Naito? Who's Naito's guy that he's going to wrestle? Hiromu? If in fact, yeah, like maybe we're going to establish Hiromu. Now, I will throw one other caveat before I throw it over to Jeremy. We don't know what 1-4 and 1-5 look like. There's going to be AEW involvement. Anyone who thinks that the AEW guys are going to be relegated to strictly 1-5 and not 1-4 are brain dead, because there's no way you bring over top stars from AEW and not use them on 1-4 if you have access to them, because that would be stupid business. If you have a Will Ospreay or a Bryan Danielson or whoever that might be, you got to use them on both shows. It would be idiotic to not do that. You're not going to sell as many tickets if you don't do that. With that being said, there is the possibility that they treat Zack Sabre Jr. as IWGP champion like CM Punk in 2012. He might not be the real headliner. They might give him a double main event. And if that happens, I could see a scenario where Naito and Hiromu headline the Dome for the Never title, and that would open up the scenario for, at that point, Zack Sabre Jr. might not really be the real headliner. He might defend the IWGP title against another Westerner, like a Ospreay, like a Kenny Omega, something like that. And that could be the Westerner, just like Wrestle Kingdom 12 when it was Jericho and Omega. Those are my thoughts. I'm throwing them out there, but if I'm projecting things this early and I'm calling it, I think that there's a lot of money, given their history, given everything involved. I think you could do Okada versus Zack Sabre Jr. And Tony Khan has shown the ability to send over top stars for the big show to allow them to job one time in a meaningful way if it's done sparingly. And I think that they could do that with Okada, especially since Okada, bro, they're doing Wembley next week and he doesn't even have a singles match. How protected do they need to keep the guy anyways?
Yeah. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I feel like with Zack coming in and challenging now, I don't have a problem with it. I think that if you want to break tradition and have a fall challenge, I think that's fine as long as you have something bigger planned for the Tokyo Dome. And I think in previous years, before we had the whole Royal Rumble style cash in, you automatically get a shot. Like you mentioned, it wasn't always Wrestle Kingdom. Like sometimes guys would challenge in September and October, but then they had a bigger match planned for January. And so obviously
for January 4th, always.
Yeah. And so obviously it's an easy booking setup to just say, all right, I'm going to plan my main event with a G1 winner versus a champion and protect the match and build. And that's a great strategy. And we've seen it's worked for years and years and years. But going this way, I think that if they're doing that, they have something bigger plan for the Tokyo Dome. And so I agree. I do think it's a waste if Zack does not win the title right now since he just won the G1. So yeah, I think that Zack would win at King of Pro Wrestling. And then, we were all worried about, what do you do in the fall of Naito? Because he's broken up. The knees are hurting. The neck is hurting. The eyes are hurting. How can you he lost 4 times. How can you have him do 4 defenses in the fall and make it January? Well,
too many.
You do it by not having him do it. You have Zack win the belt. You have Zack defend at Royal Quest. You have Zack defend at Power Struggle. Heck, maybe Zack will defend at World Tag League Final. Who knows? Zack's a workhorse. You can have Zack go to the U.S. He can defend at whatever, Battle in the Valley. They'll probably do that in the beginning, towards the beginning, end of the year, whatever. So you can have Zack, the workhorse. He's healthy, never gets hurt, prime of his career. You can have Zack defend all over the place. I don't know, send him to Australia, wherever. Zack can defend the belt, be healthy, have all these defenses, and be built up as a strong champion going into January 4th. And so, yeah, like you're saying, I think right now, yeah, when you look at the playing field, what can be bigger than Zack challenging Naito at the Tokyo Dome or Naito going for a rematch at Zack? It has to be somebody like Kazuchika Okada. And I've seen people commenting and saying oh no, January 4th should be a New Japan show. There shouldn't be AEW guys. And I'm like, well, if you look back at the history of Wrestle Kingdom or January 4th, whatever North American company that New Japan works for, those guys are featured. We've seen
always
ROH, TNA, AEW, WCW. You see the partners on January 4th. It doesn't make it not a New Japan show. We just had Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. We just had Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. Did that turn Wrestle Kingdom not into a New Japan show because those guys were there? No. It elevated it because you're getting dream matches. You're getting big money matches. So having Okada come over as an AEW guy is not going to turn it into an AEW show.
I could see another possibility. I could see Danielson and Ospreay, or I'm sorry, Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. do the trilogy match in the Tokyo Dome.
That'd be nice.
But I don't see that can't be the headliner. They're not going to headline him against a foreigner. It has to be a domestic star. So if it's going to be a domestic star, the only 2 names that make sense are Naito or Okada. And if he doesn't, and if Naito comes in as champion, it's who's Naito defending against? The whole thing becomes very convoluted. I think it's got to be Zack against one of those 2 guys, or you get Naito and Hiromu at the top, and then Zack defending against somebody on the undercard. The other thing I will say, I've seen people be like, Okada's not going to job. Really depends. What is his boss going to tell him? If Tony Khan tells him to job, then he's got a job.
Yeah.
Because that's his job and that's his boss, and it depends on business. And at the end of the day, Okada's Okada. Doing a job in the Tokyo Dome one time to Zack, a guy who he's lost to before, really is not going to hurt Okada in the long run, especially if they have long-term plans for the guy, which I don't know if they do or not. I can't really trust Tony Khan's booking these days, but you have to assume they got something. It's Okada. He's a generational talent. I'm assuming they're going to have something for him long-term. And just because he lost in the Tokyo Dome to Zack Sabre Jr., is that going to bury him? No. In order for Zack to be established as the guy to put over a Yu Uemura or a Tsuji or a Umino, he kind of needs this win over a guy like Okada. And for business, there's really not a bigger match you could possibly do.
Yeah, I think a key line from Zack's press conference today, I think it was today, in the kind of post G1 press conference, he mentioned, he's like, all right, I am overqualified to lead this generation. He's like, it's now time for me to be the best in the world. So he's already beaten Bryan Danielson. Who else do you have to beat on the biggest stage to be the best in the world? The Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada.
When did he beat Okada? He beat Okada one time in the UK by a roll-up. It was the what's the role he does where
the European clutch.
He did the European clutch. That was the one time. Kind of needs to beat Okada. Okada is a guy who he has never really truly fully overcome on the big stage for the title. If he does that, it makes him.
Now the question is, would Zack pin him or submit Okada?
Well, the only guy that's really submitted Okada in recent times was Danielson, and Zack's kind of submitted everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People think I'm crazy and they think Okada's never coming back, but here's the thing about that. How stupid would it fucking be if in 2025 AEW has this partnership with New Japan and they're doing a dual 2-day show between the two companies, and the biggest draw and biggest star for the last decade for Japan, who's under contract to AEW, doesn't come over?
Fans were mad when he left. They'll be even more mad if it's one of those things, like, as much as I don't want to see AEW take over the Tokyo Dome show, New Japan as it is right now, I don't know what a dome card with just New Japan talent would be, especially with, Uemura, who had a singles match against Tsuji last year, is out injured now. Yo's out injured. Wato's, I know these are not like top tier guys that we're talking about. Like, sure. Wato's out injured. A lot of different guys have been sitting out. Yoshihashi sat out. Ishii's been on an American excursion. Suzuki, we don't know where he's been. He's just been everywhere but New Japan. It's one of those things where it really begs the question, how is January 4th, which is on a Saturday this year, so they have an opportunity to have a very good number as opposed to our, previous, Thursday and Wednesday Wrestle Kingdom. This is actually a Saturday, Sunday, January 4th, January 5th. So they have the opportunity to make a really good post-pandemic, probably their highest numbers since, 2020. And it's, as much as I want to say, like, oh boy, they're not going to have AEW talent on there, I think they have to be very judicious about which AEW talent. I don't want what is it? Not the guys that were tagging with Billy Gunn for a while. The scissor guys.
The Acclaimed.
Yeah. I don't want them, if they are on a Tokyo Dome show on January 4th, they're in the Rumble. They're in the never 6-man open weight Rumble with whoever. They're not going for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. That's not happening. But that's things that they have to be judicious about where they put AEW talent on. At least the fifth is free game. They can do whatever they want. But I feel like they have to be a little more judicious about who they put on the 4th, just so they're not pushing away the New Japan fans that don't necessarily follow AEW out of the picture.
Yeah. Next question here, Death Triangle 720. Was this the best paced Tsuji match this year?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know that it for sure was. Honestly, in my opinion, the best Tsuji match that I saw a year that I loved was the Goto match in the New Japan Cup. But that was a very, very, very special match in a very, very special environment. But I think it was probably the best Tsuji match of the entire tournament.
Yes.
Top 4 or 5 match of the tournament. Maybe not my match of the tournament, but incredible stuff.
Yeah, it was great.
If this is where he is after a year of being back, the future's very bright for him.
Yeah. He also asked, who really left the lasting impression from this year's G1? I don't feel like CSJ hit another level in ring, but hit another level over because he speaks Nihongo. And do you guys think more Gaikokujin?
Close. Gaikokujin.
Gaikokujin should integrate with Japan?
So for me, I think what we have to remember is that Zack's been in Japan for almost 10 years at this point. So when it comes to language learning, the only 2 more difficult languages to learn besides Japanese are Chinese and Arabic, and you don't learn those overnight. As someone who's been working with the language for over 20 years, it's a constant struggle, especially in a metropolitan area like Tokyo, where there's a very large expat community. There's a lot of accessibility for English language. I've met people who've lived in Tokyo for 10 to 15 years and don't speak more than arigato and domo and like the very bare minimum Japanese to survive when you absolutely have to. So I think when I see a foreigner who goes to Japan, like Zack, like Kenny, even Osprey and Jay White, that make the effort to learn the language, it endears the fans to them even more. It gives them more of an appeal because you're embracing the language, you're embracing the culture, and you don't get that one asshole in the crowd who basically screams for an English translator because they're actually making an effort to speak in the native language. It's like when people in Japan call for an English translator, it's kind of like when Western fans do the what chant to guys who are English as a second language. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. So I feel like Zack understands if he wants to make Japan his lifelong career, like workplace, that to make him more marketable, to make him more accessible to the fans, when they do meet and greets and they do signings and stuff like that, he needs to have bare minimum some Japanese ability, some command of the language. I think it makes moments like him winning a G1 where he can just say something like, I did it, and the crowd goes wild. For most people, like, well, all he said was, I did it. Yeah, but you know what? For someone who, for a lot of the Japanese public, English language is English education is compulsory for 6 years, and very few people retain that 6 years of English language education. For most, Roman languages, you spend 6 years speaking it, you're fluent, whether it's like Spanish or French or Italian or what have you. So it's one of those things where I think, and this is as someone who's lived there, I think making the effort to at least learn some Japanese makes it better. But the way that New Japan approaches your heels is that they get around with having to not use Japanese because they can just swear and be foreign and be the shitty American tourist in Japan, and it's fine. But I also feel like the guys that are in that position also, they make the effort, they just can't show the effort because they have to maintain the kayfabe. But yes, for this, I know that who submitted this question put the we kind of tweaked the verbiage for this one because the word gaikokujin basically translates to foreigner. It gets turned in wrestling, it's turned into the slang term gaijin, which I can say this based on my experience in Japan. It can be used as a very racist term, as the go back to your effing country, you foreigner. So even though wrestling kind of takes it as the, oh yeah, be in the top gaijin, and I'm like, as somebody who got ushered away from like public squares in a very rural town, I'm like, oh, what's this parade? And my friends like, put a hat on, we're getting you out of here. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, there is they do have their version of a nationalist culture that's very anti-foreigner, that when they use the phrase, kaide, when they do the go home chants, if they say kaide gaijin, they want you to really fucking get out of there. It's one of those things where I want more Western fans that are either they don't understand the gravity behind that word, that to be, especially if you're going to Japan, don't use the phrase gaijin. It's not really good. It's not a good thing. But for me, I feel like Zack is the complete package. In a time of New Japan where we've lost Kenny, who is very fluent, who we lost Osprey, who he tried really hard. And when him and Zack had their little song and dance in Japanese before he left, Jay White did the same. He at least tried. So it's one of those things where I think it makes them feel like a more complete foreign wrestler, because they feel like they're assimilating they're respecting the culture, not just appropriating it, being like, I'm big bad foreign guy, but I'll walk around with a samurai sword. So it makes more sense that way. For me, besides Zack and Tsuji, they're in their own world. Of course, Takeshi's in the conversation, Uemura's in the conversation. I'm throwing Goto into the conversation because, again, Goto understood the assignment. He wasn't winning the G1, but he was going to make everyone believe that he was going to do the impossible thing. And Durant. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Josh, your mic's off.
We can't hear you.
My bad. I don't think that I could state specifically that because he's learned some Japanese that he's endeared himself, although I think there's an element to that. I think it goes a little bit further than that. There is
Absolutely.
somewhat a Terry Funk-esque sort of relativity when it comes to Zack Sabre Jr. Like, I don't want to say it's fully like he's one of us, but he's done everything in his power to assimilate and respectfully honor the the traditions of the people in Japan. And that's how the fans did view Terry Funk. They were like, he's not a foreigner. He is an honorary Japanese. There is an element of that when it comes to Zack. And it might not ever be to the level. You might not see people crying, and living and dying with Zack the way they do with Terry Funk, but it's probably going to be the closest thing we see for a very long time.
Yeah. I feel like if you want to be a top foreigner in Japan, I think it definitely helps to learn the language and move there, live there, really try to embrace the culture. And that's what Zack did. He left the UK, moved there, lived there, learned the language. Yeah, really became part of that culture. And yeah, I think, he's the next closest thing to, Terry Funk of like, yeah, this is our guy. This is not just some, foreign guys coming in for one shot. This is our guy. He's making all the tours, all the towns. He likes the culture. He likes the food. And so I think also that really does help the fans get behind you. As far as impressing, also Zack Tsuji, I agree. Goto was very impressive in this tournament. Uemura looked good, I thought. Bolton Oleg for being, just coming off of being a young lion and first G1, first kind of big platform to be in. I thought he looked really good. They gave him the nice little plug-and-play matches for nice formulas, and I thought he did a great job in everything he was given. And so, yeah.
One thing I will say before we move on to the next question, prior to the pandemic, we saw a couple guys, Juice Robinson, Will Ospreay. They tried to move to the country. They tried to assimilate into the culture, and it did endear them to the fans to a certain level. But like at the same time, they struggled doing that. And I'm not trying to throw shade their way, but like, Zack didn't. There was a noticeable difference there.
Yeah.
It's
also about mindset when you're moving over there, how you're going to approach, whether you surround. It depends if you surround yourself with other foreigners or if you surround yourself with other Japanese people. And I think the placement of, going through the Noah dojo, he was with other foreigners, but at a certain point, he kind of went off on his own and had that like more like mentor mentee situation and then being in Suzuki-gun of all groups actually worked to his benefit.
Again, I don't want to, obviously the timing wasn't perfect. COVID happened. It did fuck those guys' plans up. But at the same time, one guy was able to stick around. He was able to assimilate and go a little bit further. And that matters.
Native in Discord says, with Tsuji in the finals, do you think NJPW is looking to him to be the first of the new generation to be a main event player?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Staleburger Bun, Shota has a win over Zack. Should we worry about this?
Yep. If you're not a fan of Zack, or I'm sorry, if you're not a fan of Shota Umino currently, and you're worried about having to see him in the main event, yeah, potentially.
I feel like that's our Royal Quest main event, is him going for the belt against Zack at the Crystal Palace with his dad reffing.
I don't think so. I think it's gonna be Gideon Gray.
Yeah. Shota, as much as he has that win, one win doesn't make you a consistent main eventer. And he's proven that in this G1 that he's not ready. It's not his time, no matter how fancy and flashy your entrance is. If you're not having the matches to match that, you're not the guy. So I'm not worried. We're just have to sit through a main event with him at some point.
In the famous words of Chris Samsa, Hikuleo won the block.
I don't know.
He was a block finalist, so it doesn't prove anything.
I think Umino's gonna be too busy trying to keep ELP in the light to be challenging against Zach.
He can fix him.
Yeah,
I swear.
Zach Porter asks, he says, thoughts on Noah Trash becoming the first foreign wrestler since the DDT Trash. Jokes aside, I appreciate Zach's nod to his teacher and senpai Yoshinari Ogawa using the zebra clutch mid-match pop me and honoring him in his victory speech.
I do think it's interesting that the two winners that were foreigners of the G1 Climax did not come from that no-gay dojo. And you would expect for them to have come through that dojo. And their names were not Juice Robinson or David Finlay or Finn Balor. It's interesting.
My thoughts exactly.
The Gambler23 on Twitter, if ZSJ wins at Royal Quest, well, he's not challenging Royal Quest, what's the path to Wrestle Kingdom? If Naito wins, where's the path to Wrestle Kingdom?
I spoke extensively on that earlier, but it's a great question. But yeah, I already gave my thoughts.
I think Naito's path to Wrestle Kingdom is his retirement tour. Like, I think I don't, if he ends up you were talking about the double main event. If him and Hiromu main event the Dome for the Never Belt, hypothetically, I feel like Naito's going to announce his retirement.
Title versus career.
What else is left for them?
I mean, as crazy as people
I
think
love
that
Naito, but he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. He has the charisma, but he's not having the matches anymore.
What if you do Naito versus Tanahashi, double retirement, winner and loser retires?
Tanahashi cannot.
No, as someone who thoroughly loves Tanahashi, he's the reason I started watching New Japan. No,
bye Naito.
It's the good Naito tour. Tanahashi's transitioned into the office. He knows that he's not main eventing anymore. He'll try, but he's not going to.
Yeah, Tanahashi can't do that anymore. It's sad, but he cannot do it anymore.
Yeah. All right. Question from Barry Walsh. Do you think it's possible Zach now wins a belt, but the title match doesn't main event the Dome? It's some sort of dream match for Naito, but I'm at a loss as to who is out there for him and how to get his build. Now before Dome, any thoughts? We kind of covered all of that.
I already covered that. I do think we're getting Naito and Hiromu at the Dome. I think it's the match people have wanted. I do think there's a good chance that either main events or semi-main events. And I think that leaves Zach open to either fighting one of the other foreigners or fighting to Okada. I know some people want him to wrestle one of the Reiwa Musketeers. I just don't see that.
None of them are ready. I love them, but none of them are ready.
Yeah, Tsuji is the closest thing, and he's just wrestled them in the G1 finals.
There is a great story there. If you're ready to put the title on Tsuji, sure, but it can't main event. And if it does, they would be breaking. I'm a financial advisor, and I always tell people this: past performance of any particular security or equity or whatever does not guarantee future performance. So of course, what's happened in the past does not guarantee what they'll do in the future. But if you are using it as an indicator for what might happen in the future, it's very unlikely they're going to do a headliner where it's Zach versus a Reiwa guy, because you're not going to, it'd be so stupid to run two unproven draws in the Tokyo Dome against one another.
What about a New Year's Dash or New Beginning?
They could, but they got two Tokyo Dome nights back to back with a potential, world title match. They need a proven draw, a proven guy.
Yeah, especially that Saturday-Sunday combo. You have a big opportunity there to draw a lot of fans, and they're doing that whole Wrestle Kingdom week thing. There's going to be a bunch of Stardom shows. They're going to do a Matsuri thing. There's going to be like a press conference. They're doing all that, Wrestle Kingdom week stuff. You want to draw people in, and you want to make that Saturday and Sunday very big, very memorable.
Japanese wrestling has a long history, whether it's All Japan or New Japan, of having a top foreign star to be the guy that facilitates that Big Van Vader or Stan Hansen role. And they have nobody currently that does that. They need to establish Zack Sabre Jr. to be that guy so that he can be the one to pass the torch to your Tsujis and to your Uemuras and to your Shota Uminos So they need to toss him this bone so he can be that guy to facilitate the future. We're in 1991, All Japan Pro Wrestling. We're not ready to put the title on Misawa, but we're going to give the title to a Gordy or a Hansen because, Okada left. We don't got a Jumbo. So we need to establish a foreigner as a top guy. Naito's knees are going out. His eyes he's going to go blind.
He can't have surgery anymore. He's done.
He can't have surgery
on his knees, maybe, but not his eyes. He can't do any more surgery on the eyes. Kind of need those.
So what are we going to do? We got to put over. It's time. It's time to do this.
Mm-hmm. A few other random G1 questions here. First from Butthurt Man Hurts on Reddit. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 equal very, what's your concern with the low attendance numbers from the tournament?
I haven't tracked the business side. From my understanding, they've done pretty good business. Maybe they haven't. You guys could probably speak a little better to that than I could. I haven't tracked the last few nights. I did not like, and I've said this all year, I do not like the new setup for Ryogoku.
Yeah, I mean, based on the numbers I saw, like when we looked at the numbers last week, it seems like things were a little bit up compared to the last several years.
I mean, I'll go with a 2 because, yeah, the numbers are up compared. And I was actually surprised how close the finals numbers were to last year, given the main event didn't have, the usual suspects floating around it. The other thing is that in Japan, it's summertime, it's tournament season. So along with New Japan running their tournament, the G1, Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix was happening. Noah's N1 was happening. Tokyo Joshi Pro's Princess Cup was happening. All of the small indies were all running their tournaments. So it's you have to pick and choose which shows you can go to, and show tickets in Japan aren't cheap, and traveling to shows is also very difficult. So it's one of those things where people don't, especially when you're in the smaller venues and the less outside of your Tokyos and your Osakas and your Fukuokas, the getting to those venues, if they're not on a bullet train line, and getting home the same day so you can go to work the following morning because people don't take pay time off. The numbers were solid for what they were, but it's also, they don't really have summer vacation in Japan like we know it.
And just going to throw this out there, coincide with an Olympic year.
Yeah.
People were watching they were watching the Japan teams doing the Olympic things.
They were watching Ray Gun do her dance.
Craving Awesome 099, favorite top to bottom A and B block show from this tournament.
I couldn't tell you that. I do know that I liked the first couple nights very, very much, and the last few nights very, very much. So I couldn't tell you.
Overall, top to bottom was opening weekend. Opening weekends always has the biggest matchups that could end up shaking out the entire tournament for people. And honestly, those are the ones that I was probably the most focused on. But yeah, the opening weekend's always opening weekend, and the end of the little mini tournament to get to the end. Those are the middle had like a good card, a good match here and there, but not consistently good whole entire block.
I'll also say me and Jeremy might be on an island here unto ourselves, but like we're gonna maintain that those fucking Naito first 2 matches or the first 2 nights were fucking incredible. And I don't care what anyone says. The match with Shingo and the match with ZSJ were awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I will join you on your tiny island.
Yeah, I think probably the first 2 nights are probably the best, like one of the best set of like shows from the whole tour. Also there are 2 full block shows, but yeah, just really great matches on both of those shows.
Yeah, so fuck your question about A and B block simultaneously, individually, and we answer you with full block matches. Nights.
Got a few questions there from Dev Triangle 720. He had another attendance question here. Do you think the attendance of this year's G1 decreased because of the new arenas they use, or just lack of star power? Again, we don't have the full data, but I mean, I've been seeing pretty good numbers.
That was a joke we made prior to the G1 in general, where we said that it was the rural revitalization tour, where there were several nights where they just weren't in the old faithful, arenas. And we talked, during this review period with Chris Samsa and other, pundits about why that may have been the case. And there were a lot of new buildings that they were in. There were a lot of buildings that they were precluded from running that they had in the past, but business seemed to be doing really well throughout the tour. I don't know I don't know where this, kind of talking points coming from. They did good business.
I don't think it's an either or, and I think it like as we just talked about, it's a whole bunch of different factors. I don't want to say that the G and G1 this year was a good enough one because that's all they did the most with what they had. But yes, if you want to say that, yes, there's no Okada, yes, there's no Ospreay. We know it's New Japan has to define who they are moving forward without these folks. But they were able to bring in Takeshita. I thought Takeshita was a great addition to it. They promoted people out of Young Lion stats instead of having not that they were going to ever let Bolton Oleg eat 10 losses in a G1, but it's they're I think they're at a point where they're starting to figure out hopefully what's going to work moving forward for the G1 with the roster of talent that they have, and hopefully won't have to supplement too much with too many outside talents moving forward.
He asked if you had to rate this year's G1, what would you rate it?
I would go with the solid B minus. Simply for this reason. We didn't have the level of bangers we've had in the past. And, G1 is, I hold G1 to a certain level. If it's not 2018 G1, it can't be an A. That being said, the best G1 in like 5 or 6 years.
I would give it also a B minus. If I'm going to have to sit through Yano style matches with House of Torture, then Evil is not allowed to have a match that goes beyond 5 minutes. He has to do the Yano loses in 30 seconds, 60 seconds consistently every single match. I would rather have, and this is my hot take, I would rather have Ishii and Yoshihashi in the G1 than Ren Narita as he is and Evil.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think a lot of people would agree with you. Yeah, I would take Yoshihashi, Ishii, Taichi.
Taichi's another one, yeah.
Get them back in.
I want work rate guys. I don't need comedy shtick. You can say that for the other 12 months or 11 months of the year.
Yeah.
Off topic, but the Hawk Tua girl's coming to St. Pete. I just read that, so just letting you guys know.
All right. But yeah,
don't worry, Jared, you're gonna be in Lakeland, Josh. Don't worry.
It doesn't apply to me. I'm just letting y'all know.
I have zero interest.
I think she's funny.
She's literally a meme that has now amassed an empire. I don't understand it.
I didn't know what it was for like weeks.
Oh my God. You have to go on the TikTok and watch the TikTok.
I refuse to go on TikTok.
It is a brain rot app, but that is where
being somebody who only watches the TikToks weeks after the fact on Reels.
Instagram.
But yeah, I'd also go B on the tournament as well.
We went B minus, so you're a little higher than us.
Yeah, I'm going a flat B. I'm not doing the plus minus gimmick on this one.
I'm usually the cautious optimist.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I enjoy the tournament. I know a lot of people, they were kind of down on it, and they were like, well, it wasn't as great as your 2018, your 2017, 2016, and it wasn't a good tournament. And like I've been hearing all that. I'm like, I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole tournament. I looked through my ratings. I see a lot of 4+ matches. There were a lot of really good 3.5 matches. Yeah, there weren't the highs. I don't have anything at 5. There was nothing that broke the scale or this universal match of the year contender. But there's a lot of really good matches, a lot of great matches. Guys got established. We got Bolton Oleg rolling. We got Callum Newman rolling. We got Tsuji in a big spot. Uemura looked good before the injury. There's a lot of good stuff that happened in this tournament. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'll just throw this out there. ELP Takeshita is a match of the year contender.
Yeah.
Period. It might not be everybody's match of the year, but I guarantee you when Voices of Wrestling puts out their top 10 matches of the year, graded by all of the, those people that are in the media, there is no way ELP versus Takeshita does not make the top 10 matches of the year, which is a contender for match of the year. It will 100% be there.
Let's see.
We just didn't get 30 or 40 match of the year contenders like we did in 2016, 2017, 2018. We only ended up with like 10. Oh my God, God forbid. We only ended up with 10 or 15 top matches.
We're so spoiled.
Yeah.
We're so spoiled.
Yeah.
You know?
We're so spoiled. We're like, it's only 10 good matches.
There's
Sorry.
only 15 4.5 star matches this year.
Out of like what, 90?
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's only like 15%. Sorry.
In a rebuilding year. Oh my God. You know.
We also asked, do you think New Japan should avoid using guest stars for Wrestle Kingdom 19? I think New Japan should try to see what is the best Wrestle card they can make up with their roster they have for the Dome.
It depends on what you feel like. If you don't want Takeshita and you'd rather see Ishii or Taichi or, Yoshihashi, that's your taste. It depends. There's no right or wrong answer, but that's what you have to suss out in your heart and decide for yourself.
I mean, I would love to see Takeshita versus Finlay at the Dome. I feel like that could be a very good match. But again, it's one of those things, like I said before, you have to be, we can bring in guest stars. They just have to be judicious about which ones, where they're put on the card, and what the stakes for the matches are.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Wrestle Kingdom's the big stage. You do dream matches, and sometimes you need guest stars for those dream matches.
I'm a little concerned about the fact that 1-5 isn't just AEW New Japan, but it's AEW, CMLL, great. Stardom, great. ROH. What does that mean? What are we getting from ROH? That's going to be this one that's going to facilitate the 1-5 card. What that means to me is we're not getting like a lot of stars from AEW to kind of, we're not getting Swerve plus Hangman plus, Danielson plus Ospreay plus, that's not happening. What that means is we're definitely getting Mark Briscoe, probably getting like
Dalton
Sammy
Castle.
Guevara, Dalton Castle, and the boys.
Well, I mean, if they're treating this like a Forbidden Door style show, I mean, all the top AW guys are the stars are there. So I think that you're going to get a lot of top AW guys there.
I don't think so, bro. That first AEW Dynamite of the early year requires a lot of big stars. I think we're getting a couple.
But I'll be honest. It's on Saturday. They can get from Japan from Wednesday to Saturday.
No, the 5th is a Sunday, so they'd have to fly out Monday. They would get home. They would get back to the States. If they leave on Monday, they would get back on Monday, but then they still would need to transit to wherever they're going and, get back onto U.S.
They got to be about that life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's only a handful of folks that are used to that time.
I would say Mox is
time
about
travel, as it were.
I don't know if he fucking works for the company anymore. It just kind of depends. The dude asked for his fucking release a couple times, so we'll see what happens with that shit. I don't know. I think if I were guessing, we'll get a couple top guys, 2, maybe 3, and then the rest of it will be Stardom, CMLL guys, and some ROH talent, which means mid-carders. Maybe
enjoy your Rambos, guys. We're getting double Rambos.
Eddie Kingston, if we're lucky. That's what we're really looking.
Is he still on the shelf right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's injured, but maybe he'll be back by Wrestle Kingdom, I'm guessing.
We'll see. He's still on the couch. Last promo just cut, so I don't know.
Anyone that thinks this is going to be like those early, crossover shows like from Forbidden Door, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think we're going to get some multi-man tags, maybe a couple big matches.
We'll see.
It's not going to be like a 9-match singles match card. People need to temper their expectations.
When you got 5 companies across the board listed for the 1-5 show, that leads me to believe that we're not getting a bunch of dream matches.
Yeah.
But we're probably getting something close to like the United Japan, except United Japan's probably dead at this point.
They're not very united anymore.
Yeah. Not exactly united. Also, is the Asian Japan, what was that shit? Is that even still going on?
It is, but I feel like they don't have they've only had like the one set of shows. They haven't announced a next show.
They did
series.
a Taiwan show and that was it. They did a show with puzzle and that's it.
Like they announced Historic Crossover like 3 months ago, and they just finally announced the date for it.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's my fault, Jeremy. We've gone 3 hours and I've hijacked the show so many times this time.
That Franco's last question. Do you think New Japan decided to have Naito versus USA before the Dome because they don't think it will draw at the level needed for the Dome?
I think it would draw, but I don't think Naito's knees can wait that long.
I feel the opposite. I think that they are concerned about Zack being a top draw, and they need him to go over Zack, or they need him to go over Naito to be established to head into the Dome with the title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that he can probably either drop the title to Naito or beat Okada. And if he beats Okada, just throwing this out there, Okada's probably losing that C2, by the way. Okada's probably going to go into the C2 finals, drop the belt to whoever is going to final against him, and then turn around a week or two later and lose to Zack, and then start his rebound, whatever that may be.
Or he could use a C2 to catapult himself as the challenger. Like, I won the Continental Classic. I'm the best on the continent. I want to go to another continent and defend this Continental.
They could, but do you think that Tony Khan would let his Continental champion lose to the IWGP champion? I don't see that, personally.
I don't know. I don't think the Continental title is that prestigious that IWGP.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could be right. I haven't been watching as much. I didn't even know until today when I was talking to Rich that Wembley was next week.
Yeah,
it's Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
I had no fucking clue.
A couple questions from Les Commission 7252. Would you three prefer this format more often now in the G1, where we have the semifinals and block finals to determine who goes into the original finals, or go back to the regular format of a 2-block where whoever has the most points in their block goes into the finals? Both are very unpredictable, and I really enjoyed the format, but my issue with that is that some will end up getting their win back from the wrestler who ends up getting the bye in the block final. I hope they end up sticking to the original format, but I wouldn't mind seeing this again next year if they have a strong lineup like it was this year.
If they did the original format and they did the booking they did, it would have been Zack versus fucking Finley.
Yeah.
I liked it. It felt fresh. It at first, when they first announced it, it felt a bit convoluted because I was like, why are we doing this extra step? But it kind of took the format they used when they adopted Noah's N1 Victory 4-block format and kind of it made it feel a little bit fresh. Either way, it's whatever they do. We're really not gonna have a say in it either way. But I thought it was something different. But it seems like Stardom's doing the same exact thing with their 5-star Grand Prix. So it's just maybe that's what they're trying to do, trying to make things a little different moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the playoff format. I think initially I was more traditionalist for a lot of these tournaments of let's just do the 2-block winners, but like the Super Juniors, like it added a lot of drama that year of Wato and Teton doing semifinals, and I feel like this year too, again, it kind of added that kind of more sports feel to it. All right, now you're going into the playoff section of the season. You have the winningest teams kind of coming in. You have your wild card coming in to kind of get to your Super Bowl winner and your G1 winner. So I liked it. I think an interesting thing would be maybe try to make it cross block. So instead of having rematches in the playoffs, you do a cross block, and so you're getting new matches in the playoffs, and then build to a new final match as well.
Here's my only criticism of that. They did that for many years, and you wound up with a rematch from block play in the finals.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. You should book it to where, you make sure that an A and B guy end up advancing.
But if you book that way, then it just becomes redundant to have done all of that extra work to get to that point.
Yeah.
I will say this, a couple things. Number one, this tournament, for whatever reason, was spaced out immaculately, easier to follow than so many other G1s in the past. Number two, I loved the format of 3 guys getting through from the block just because it was so unpredictable. Even though we could take very educated guesses and kind of decide what we thought was going to happen, it became very difficult to ascertain exactly what was happening, especially since we lived with Gato's booking since 2012. Kind of became accustomed to his proclivities, and this sort of negated that quite a bit, which was nice.
Yeah.
I think the only change that I would make is more qualifying matches for the G1. I liked the little tournament that they had set up, but it kind of like the tour that they kind of wedged in between Dominion and this one. I feel like you could have had more people trying to vie for spaces in the G1. I know you have to announce the bulk of who's going to be in it so you can sell the tickets. But at the same time, I liked the concept of a qualifier.
The only thing I would change with that is Ishii gets through.
Yes.
And then
Yoshihashi.
he wins the shit.
Well, yes, but that too.
And he goes to the Dome and he wins the title.
Who would you like to see Ishii win the title from?
Anybody. I literally don't fucking care who it is.
As long as it happens, right?
There's so many people that want Goto to win this belt. Fuck Goto. I need Ishii, Hall of Famer, Wrestling Observer Hall of Famer Ishii to win this title.
Yes.
And if not that title, he needs to win Billy Corgan's NWA belt, one or the other.
Let's mention also ask for each block, who are your 3 favorites that exceeded their expectations in the tournament?
I'm not going to do that, but I will say this. The A block MVP, Zack Sabre Jr. B block MVP, Takeshita.
Yeah, agree with those. Karen, do you have favorites? Any of those?
I would co-sign that, but again, I'm gonna throw the old man's MVP. I'm gonna throw Goto in there.
He was awesome. Some people say Umura.
Umura would, yeah. I just wish we could have seen him throughout the entire tournament. He did for the matches that we had. He'd be the other one. I don't like as much. Shingo would be a de facto, but like looking at the rest of the competitors, I mean, Jeff Cobb is always great, but he didn't have the G1 he had a couple of years ago. Like his matches this year were good, but a lot of them were also, and I hate to say this, not forgettable, but they weren't the like, oh my, like I don't remember seeing Jeff do any, like he doesn't do the flip anymore. I love to see
his best match was with Takeshita on night 2.
Yeah.
And it was a Rock'em Sock'em Robots match.
Yeah. Yeah, I think A block, yeah, definitely Zach, Shingo, Gabe, Kid. Well, like the 3 favorites I had there. And then B block would, definitely be Takeshita, Tsuji, and Goto.
Just want to throw this out there. The match between Ishii and Yoshihashi was better than like 95% of what happened in the G1 this year.
And that's why Yoshihashi is getting a global title shot.
Prepare for your global heavyweight champion, Yoshihashi.
Yes. Dark Soldier says
that qualifying match was still better than almost everything that happened in the G1 this year.
Dark Soldier says, I wouldn't say this G1 was the strongest in quality matches compared to other years, although there were still great matches, of course. But outside of a couple of things like Shoto's booking and Jake Lee being Jake Lee, I would say this was the strongest booked G1 in terms of storyline and moving things forward. And for the first time since 2019, this properly felt like a we're back when it comes to the G1 being this intense and even a magical tournament. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yep.
Yes. Just shape out the House of Torture shit.
Yeah.
Shape it out.
Kill them.
Doc says, why is ZSJ challenging early? I think we've kind of touched on that.
No.
And Ward Starter One says, what wrestlers are you buying or selling stock on? And what would it mean to get Zack versus Taichi for the world title?
Bro, as a financial advisor, I always get fucked up when people are like, who would you buy stock on and who would you sell on? Because the principle of investing is you buy low and sell high. So you sell when you think someone is at their apex, and you only buy when you think someone's at their very lowest. And I think when people ask that question, they don't mean that. I think what they're asking is, who did you think did good and who did you think did bad? But you're only supposed to buy in somebody when you think that their upside is undervalued. And so I hate that fucking question.
Well, I mean, if you want to ask me who I'm giving up on, I might be giving up on ELP and Shota right now, but
not sell. Who would you sell on? Who do you think is a terrible asset and you need to sell off?
Ren Narita
and House the Torture.
Sold out Ren Narita. Sorry.
Yeah. Evil.
I think he's outlived his usefulness at this point.
Yeah.
He needs to go back to being Takaaki Watanabe and just get a fresh coat of paint. Doesn't need to go on excursion. He needs the coming to the light moment where he's no longer the King of Darkness.
I've been calling him Evil Watanabe for years, imagining that there's these evil fans that I'm upsetting, but I don't think they exist.
Well, you'd be surprised. There are some very staunch evil. I do know some that are very, very.
They don't listen to this show.
Pro evil.
I ran them off years ago. He had such a strong beginning to the tournament too.
Yeah, he did.
He did not deserve the tournament wins that he got.
The first 4 nights, he was so strong.
I need them to figure out what they're doing with Sonata.
I don't.
He used to be a world champion. What are we doing?
I think.
What is he doing? Not what are we doing? What is he doing?
He's gonna probably be looking for some dogs to roll with. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, we'll talk to you about that.
Like as in starting his own dog rescue, or
we're not gonna get into it because we can't say this on the air. But yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean Takeshita definitely. I would buy stock in Takeshita. Zack versus Taichi. I think that would be a great fall matchup. Why not power struggle? Pretty cool. So that's it for the questions. Few big news things we've already talked about. Sabre challenging for the title. King of Pro Wrestling, October 14th. Discord Dice had lots of intrigue into the fall. What does your crystal ball tell you about Wrestle Kingdom main event? Kind of talked about that already. Then we got Destruction in Kobe coming up September 29th. So we have Tetsuya Naito defending against Gay O'Connell on that show, as well as David Finlay defending against Yoshihashi. Let's get the questions for now because we are running super overtime now.
I know we are. Let me just make mention of this real quick. Top 10 G1 matches according to Cage Match. Number 10, Takashi versus Tsuji 2 at 8.17. Number 9, Shingo versus Tsuji 1. Number 8, Takeshita versus Tsuji 1. Number 7, Kid versus Shingo. 6, Takeshita versus Uemura. 5, Goto versus Takeshita. Number 4, Tsuji versus Sabre. Number 3, Shingo versus Sabre. 2, number 2, Kid versus Sabre. Incredible match. And then your top match of the tournament, ELP versus Takeshita. 9.09. I didn't list the nights.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the number 1 rated match on Cage Match. Now, not to say we agree 100% with them, but just a little bit of a tool to kind of judge things by. So just want to throw that out there.
A lot of Takeshita on there.
Takeshita was 5 matches of the tournament. Tells you he's probably the MVP of the tournament. ZSJ was in the top 10 matches 4 times, and then Shingo was up there 3 times.
Nice. We also have Road to Destruction coming up. So Sunday, September 8th, we got Jeff Cobb defending the TV title against Tsuji. September 9th, the Never title match, Hanare defends against Hiromu. Then September 11th, we'll have Doki defending the junior title against Ishimori. And Saturday, September 14th, we'll have the Never Openweight 6-man tag champions Tanahashi, Yano, and Bolton defending against Evil, Yujiro, and Dick Togo. And Death Triangle wants to know
change
of the upcoming title program, which one are you invested in coming up?
None.
I would say Hiromu Hanare.
That one and probably Cobb Tsuji for the World TV Championship.
Yeah.
I would say I think it's long overdue that Hiromu wins that Never title. So I'm right there with you, Jeremy.
Not going to say that Yoshihashi versus David Finlay is on my bucket list, but
we might all change
for the walls. I'll say it. It's fine. It's coming home, guys.
If he wins, then we all were choosing that match.
And then last show here, we have Shingo's 20th anniversary show, Saturday, September 7th. So main event will be Shingo, Bushi, and a mystery partner versus Naito, Hiromu, and Yota Tsuji. We'll have Zack Sabre Jr. and Kosei Vegeta teaming up with Great Okan and Jacob Austin Young, who's now officially a member of United Empire. He was on a lot of the New Japan Strong shows, JAY, Jacob Austin Young. So he's officially a part of the United Empire.
He reminds me of like Brian Austin Green from like 90210. I don't know who that is.
You've seen him on Strong before. He's pretty good.
He in the Strong Survivor series or
no, he was just like on regular.
I know who the Strong Survivor is. Who's that guy?
Matt Vandergriff.
Matt Vandergriff.
He's still the Strong Survivor.
Yes, he is.
Strong Survivor. He's the
be a survivor.
New version of Chase Owens.
Also, there'll be Zack, Kosei Vegeta, Tanahashi, Yano, and Bolton and Tiger Mask versus Evil, Yujiro, Togo, and Kanemaru. We'll have Doki and Taka versus Taiji Ishimori and Gato. Ishii and Hanuma versus Gabe Kidd and Jake Lee. Umino and Jado versus Narita and Sho. Taguchi and Morishima versus Cobb and Hanare. Kato and Rita versus Akira and Newman. And then Daiki Nagai versus Matsura Yasuda. So that is your Shingo anniversary show. And then we got Capital Collision coming up at the end of the month. Main event, women's title match on the line. Mercedes Moné defends against Momo Watanabe. Strong openweight title, Gabe Kidd defends against Leo Rush. Rematch, Hiromu versus Mustafa Ali. TMDK, Haste and Nichols defend the titles against Virus and Hechicero. Naito versus TJP. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Teton. Dirty Work, Rosser and Lawler versus West Coast Wrecking Crew. Kevin Knight, Rocky Romero, and Yoshihashi versus Clark, Drilla, and Dave Finley. Then there will be a number one contenders match with Strong tag team titles. Bad Dude Tito and Robbie Eagles versus Tanahashi and Ishii versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. And then two kickoff matches, Mina Shirakawa and Hanako versus Trichadora and Viva Van. And then the Strong Survivor, Matt Vandergriff, defends against Alan Breeze.
I know for a fact Jeremy wanted to get out of here because I usually do the news and he read off the news so he could get the fuck out of here.
Well, I'm doing it for you. I know you're sleepy, Josh. You're trying to get to bed at 10 these days. So
I do, but we always have the most fun on the show when we have Karen on. So it's probably my fault that I've taken us off on weird tangents. I still wish we could have discussed the weirdest, online dating meetups that we ever had, but time was not permitting.
Then last thing here, we kind of mentioned Royal Quest 4 is coming up, and tickets will be going on sale for that August 26th. So
I'm definitely gonna buy some tickets for that. I can't wait.
Well, that is going to do it for the news. These other questions will hold off till next week. Karen, please go ahead and tell the listeners where they can find you online and let us know anything you got coming up.
Well, you all, we've said it like 18 million times as I've been on the show. I work over at Post Wrestling. Usually I do the New Japan coverage. But with the G1, it was a team effort. There's about 6 or 7 of us all rotating in throughout the entire G1. But I co-host Post Pro Res, the monthly Japanese wrestling scene recap with my partner in crime, WH Park. And we are discussing with Bruce Lord, who I usually do the New Japan show coverage with the rest of the year, what's going to look like. I also have a monthly column called Dream Slam Monthly for all your for folks like Josh who don't normally follow the Joshi scene, but maybe Joshi curious.
Whoa.
It's a great resource to go to find out what's going on all around Japan and where Japanese wrestlers are wrestling all over the world in the women's scene. Other than that, if you pick up an issue of this month's Pro Wrestling Illustrated with Ms. Monet on it, and you go to, because it's very topical, you go to the Center Ring interview with yours truly, you can find some very obscure facts about me and see a great picture when I met Tanahashi for the first time. But that's all I got going on. I'm going on vacation, so I will not be doing any wrestling for the rest of the month, and I'm very thankful that Shingo Takagi decided to have his 20th anniversary on my birthday. So,
nice.
I am not X in that match, just so you know. I'm not the mystery participant. Gentle.
Sure. Kayfabe.
And I saw that Walker Stewart wanted it to be Mochizuki. But fuck Walker Stewart. It needs to be BB Hulk.
Yeah.
If it's not BB Hulk, then what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, that seems like it could be a great choice. But yeah, that should be a fun show. So great up. Check out all Karen's work over at Post Wrestling. Grab a tee from her from Chop Tees. Might be seeing some social suplex stuff up in there.
Oh, on the chopped-tees.com?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. We'll see. We got some stuff coming up.
Woo! Love to see it.
Yep. So that is going to wrap it up for this week. So next week we'll be back to preview Capital Collision, cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, you can sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. So all you grade 1 subscribers who got it on the live stream this week, don't get used to it. Just giving you a little taste. You want to bump that upgrade up to the IWGP tier. You get the weekly live stream. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button there under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Connect with us on social media. On X, follow us at KI Strong Style, at Social Suplex, and at Jeremy L. Donovan. Facebook, facebook.com/Social Suplex, and the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, on the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we are at Social Suplex. You can join our Social Suplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd in Austin. Imps WWE Adventure with The Implications, Matthew Mayer. Wrestling Art with Chris Slings. Tunnel Talk with Allie and Leah. And the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.